So the first thing that I thought was really interesting was the prevalence rates. And so what we're doing is,
Skyrocketing.
well, it's interesting because it's a mixed hodgepodge of things. It's not exactly what you would expect in terms of like which groups are going up and which groups are not going up.
Old people are going up, right?
Old people are going up, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really interesting. But the fastest growing demographic is still
It's
the.
Wendy. She just graduated from here.
Oh, okay, great. And
Yeah.
so, oh, well, that's great.
Yeah. Hey, Wendy. How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah.
Wait, we can't say that out loud, can we?
I think she graduated.
But you can't tell them that we were like they were in the program before.
Oh yeah, shit.
Okay. Well, we didn't mention her last name, so it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hey, shout out to someone that we don't really know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the prevalence uses, right? So adult cannabis use in the United States has roughly doubled over the past decade. And the statistic for that is that in month to month use, right, moved from 8.3% of people over the age of 12 in 2015 to 15.4% of the people in 2024. And that's not perfectly just for adults only. That's for the demographic of 12 and older.
Jesus.
And why this is so interesting, right, is that it used to be 1 out of 12 Americans had used pot in the last year.
Okay.
I'm sorry, in the last month.
Oh wow.
And now it's 1 out of 6 Americans has used pot in the last month.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? Like, so if you're sitting on like a bus, right, and you look around, it's like every single person has like
Wow.
smoked pot. And so they were doing this from the key substances use and mental health indicators in the United States, resulting from a survey that they did in 2015. And so what's happened, right, is that roughly about 22 to 25% of the U.S. adults report having used marijuana in the past year.
Okay. That seems like it was probably right on cue for the last while though.
Yeah. So
Okay.
but that's in the last year, right? So it's 1 out of 6 has used it in the last month,
That's so crazy.
and 1 out of 4 has used it in the past year.
Wow.
And this is once again from the NSDU study report, and it's risen from 2021, and it basically is letting you know, right, is that there's more and more and more people that are using it, and it's become so normalized and so accepted that it's like okay in the workplace, within families, and a lot of clinicians don't really know how to like address that.
You know what's interesting? I was in treatment. I was an outpatient a year, 18 months ago,
Okay.
and there was multiple people in there they were in there for just smoking weed.
Just smoking weed, right? But when we say just smoking weed, right? Weed is not what it used to be, and we're gonna get into that like
For
later on,
sure.
right? Like the weed that I smoked back in the day in college is not the same weed that exists today.
Well, so how did you used to smoke a good amount of weed?
I was a recreation. I never did it. I never did it every day. I wasn't like a wake and bake person.
Mm-hmm.
But we would do it on the weekends. I was living in LA, so like one of my favorite things to do would be to go
To
and
Santa Monica.
to smoke out and then go and like watch a movie.
Oh yeah.
So I remember like some of my favorite movies are from when I was in college, and like we would just go and like Casino and 12 Monkeys.
Mm.
Like watch both of those high, and I was like, oh, this is like the most amazing movie ever, right? And it was an experience that I enjoyed, but it wasn't something that I would feel like I had to do every single day.
Okay.
And so when I was in my 20s, there'd be a period of time where like I never bought it except for like every once in a while, right? And I would buy it, and I would buy like I don't know what the measurements are, right? Like an eighth or whatever it was, right? I would buy it and I would smoke it for over like the course of a month. I'd smoke like a small little bowl, and then I'd be done, right? And then I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed now, right? And that would be it, and that would last me like a month and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't really like my thing,
For sure.
and I didn't really, I didn't, it wasn't my favorite drug.
Okay.
Yeah, why was that different for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was very, very different.
But were you mixing and matching it like with everything else?
I consistently smoked weed from like maybe. So I started at 13 and then stopped and then started at 15, and it was consistent. There was actually my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, we would get into fights because it was like we have $20 and we can either buy heroin or weed, and the weed would have done more for me for longer. So I would be like, let's buy weed,
And then she'd be like, no,
and she'd be like, not a fucking chance.
all right.
And it's like,
interesting.
dude, but $20 worth of heroin's not going to even put a dent on what we're about to go through. So
Yeah.
if we got weed though, we'll be all right.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And so like the statistics, right, are completely changing, right?
Yeah.
So roughly 15 to 17% of the U.S. adult population reports using in the past month,
Jeez.
right? And then that's the 15.4% of the people over 12 years old. And then specifically
Over 12 years old.
well, that's how they did their statistics, and so it was demographic out between like the ages of like because they were looking at adolescents also, so they were looking at between 15 and 16. It's this number, right? Between 15 or 16 and 21, it's this number. Between 21 and like
And then
30,
they
it's this number.
averaged it out.
And no, then this is like the entire population.
Yeah. And then, but that statistic is based on the average of everything.
No,
It's 15%.
Yeah, 15% of the
Okay.
entire total population.
That's crazy.
Right, and so we can break that down by age and demographic. And so there was more like I remember going through this report, and they broke it down by age demographics, and they were all of them were getting higher and higher and higher
As they got older.
as they got older. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so then
Do you remember what the adolescent demographic percentage was?
no, I think I might have it here later on
Okay.
inside of the chart, right? And so daily or near daily cannabis use now exceeds 10. 1 out of 10 adults reports smoking it on a daily basis,
That's crazy.
right? And so, but
Are,
it's
are we going to talk about contributing factors to like these phenomenons?
we can.
I mean, because how many states is it legal recreationally and medicinally now? I think it's like 30 states or
Yeah,
something,
it's
right?
pretty high.
I mean, I'm not saying that the legalities of it have changed.
Oh, what? No, 100%.
No. Haven't they probably do contribute to a higher percentage of people smoking, but I remember, well, I was in California, so it's probably skewed too. But everybody smoked weed,
Right.
and this was 20 years ago.
You also have to like consider your population.
For
right?
sure.
The population that you're around
For sure.
is completely skewed, right?
For sure.
I remember when I was working at like a tech company, and there was this guy who would come in, and every evening he would like on his way home would like smoke and smoke marijuana in the car, and I was like, what? And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm just getting ready for the drive home. And I was like, what? Like you're smoking pot just to go home? And he's like, yeah, like I do it every day. Like, and I was like, every single day, and he had like the little bong in his car, and
Oh my gosh.
it was just unreal. Like it blew my mind, right? Because that's not how I saw marijuana, but that is how I saw alcohol,
Okay.
right? So like my perception of that was like completely different.
It's funny because I'm teaching the certification course right now, and we're talking about just different subject matter, and alcohol and perceptions came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really have a skewed perception and like opinion of what alcohol is to people.
Yeah,
I'm very, very
Yeah.
quickly realizing. Yeah.
because of your alcohol allergy, you
Yeah.
had no desire to do any of that. So
Mhm.
like the entire people that you were hanging out with, right? None of them were like drinkers.
None of
They're
them.
all drug addicts, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, alcohol probably isn't that big of a deal anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like,
yeah.
no, it's the complete opposite of that. And so when we look at daily or near daily drinking, right, in the past 20 days or in the last 30 days, adults widely cited national analysis, right, by the NSDUD that showed nearly daily or near daily cannabis use has climbed dramatically and reaches over 17.7 million people in the year 2022. Right? That's so many people, right? So if you look at the population in the United States, right? It's like 30 million or 300 million.
300 million.
300 million, and so 17.7%
It's like 5%.
are doing that every day. Yeah, daily or near daily using.
5%. You know, we live in Texas. We live in Houston, and it's becoming like more. I'm new here, so I'll say that, right? Been here for about 2 years, and they had like the Farm Act where it became legal for a little while, and now it's illegal again. But for a long time, like downtown San Diego, I couldn't walk anywhere without smelling weed.
Yeah, and it's becoming like that in Houston too.
And now there's a barber shop in our building, and it's like 1 out of 5 times that I go in that elevator, it smells like weed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been smelling it more and more, like just walking around, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that smells oddly familiar, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
It's becoming more and more normalized, right? And the reason why this is interesting is that the percentages are coming closer and closer to tobacco-like frequencies, right? For people that
Mm-hmm.
are using on a daily basis, and for an alcohol-like pattern for occasional users.
You know what's funny? Because of the vaping, I wonder if there's like how comparable the levels are. What's
In
up,
ter-
Terry?
comparable in terms of what?
Tobacco, like actual tobacco and marijuana.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Because I don't know many people that smoke. Actually, I don't personally know anybody that smokes cigarettes that I know they smoke. I don't know
oh,
anybody that smokes
but
cigarettes.
that vape.
Yeah, they vape for sure.
You don't
But
consider vaping and cigarettes the same thing?
no, they're fundamentally different.
They're both tobacco. How
No,
are they
no, no, no,
fundamentally
no, no, no.
different?
You might be ingesting the same chemical,
Right?
but one is you're burning a leaf, like you're actually
Okay.
burning a plant.
Yes.
The other one, you're inhaling vapor
Okay.
off of a heating element.
Okay.
And so when you really look at like the delivery package, they're completely different. It's like a missile versus a bullet. It's kind of the same thing, but they're totally different.
A missile versus a which one's the missile?
I would say that the tobacco is a missile as far as the delivery of harmful chemicals.
Okay. So, all right, I will agree with you on that, right? But when it comes to the delivery of tobacco, I would say that the vape is a machine gun, whereas the
Okay.
tobacco is a bullet or like is a regular old like pistol.
Okay. Well,
Because everyone that I know that smokes and vapes, right? The smokers will actually smoke on like intervals, right? They'll be like,
For
okay, I'm gonna go
sure.
outside and I'm gonna smoke and I'm gonna have like my nicotine fix for the hour.
okay.
I'm gonna specifically go outside and smoke. Everyone that I know that vapes, vapes all the time,
Okay.
everywhere,
Okay.
like nonstop.
I vape on the show.
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if we counted. I probably through over a 2 hour period. I think I might hit it 5 or 6 times. And I vape more on the show than I do anywhere else.
You vape more on the show than you do anywhere. So I know when I was vaping, I would vape all the time.
Yeah, I don't.
And it wasn't like I'd take these like really large puffs. I would just smoke a little bit and then
Yeah.
I'd be done.
hmm
But what we're getting at here, right, is that the rates at which people are smoking cannabis on a daily basis
Are
is coming close
skyrocketing.
to the tobacco consumption.
Oh yeah.
If anything, it's like almost the equivalent of it. It's like they kind of switched or flip flopped. And so that one's becoming more and more okay than anything else.
Curtis asked, how did they come up with the 17 million number? They did. Was it a meta-analysis of studies, or did they actually do a study?
So this is the National Society of I can't remember and like, hold on I have it here
Of
somewhere.
drug use, the NSDU.
The changes in self-reported cannabis use in the United States from 1979
To
to
2022.
2022. And so these are like statistics that they've gotten from the government
Yeah,
in
of
terms
course.
of like who's smoking because like no one else is going to do a study like
Yeah,
that except
yeah.
for the government. And so it's how are the rates changing as time goes on.
So the NSDUH.
Yeah. Base analysis found that in 2022, nearly daily or near daily cannabis users were about 17.7 million, exceeded the near daily alcohol users, which
Isn't
was
that crazy?
14.7
So more people are smoking weed than alcohol. But you know what?
on a daily basis. So if you were to say, you know, the entire population, right, or you were doing like these statistics on the entire population, more people were smoking cannabis on a daily basis or admitted to that than admitted to drinking on a daily basis.
Which I think the reality of it is there's probably even more weed smokers than that.
Yeah,
Because a
they're
lot
not-
of
they're
people
not self-reporting that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And alcohol, I would assume that it's probably about accurate because it's so socially acceptable. Wendy said that she smokes 20 times more an hour since she started vaping.
20 times more an hour. Yes, because there's no barrier
And you
to
can vape
smoking.
indoors.
Indoors. And
Yeah.
so what would happen is I would be sitting there on my laptop with a vape in hand being like it wouldn't be like a huge drag and it wouldn't be a break. It would just be a constant stream of nicotine coming in.
That's crazy. So I bought this with you. Do you remember how long ago that was?
When was that?
It was probably like 3 weeks ago.
Okay. But those vapes last pretty long. How
Th-
many
I mean,
how
they
many
do.
how many drags are how many like puffs are in there? Like,
This can't be right though.
it's like
It says
it's like
35,000. It
50,000.
says 35,000.
And I'm like, oh, great, Matt. You've only smoked 50,000 hits in the last 3 weeks. Congratulations.
I know people that are burning through them though. They're smoking like 3 or 4 vapes a week.
What I found really interesting is like, so I had quit probably about like 2 years ago, and then I started up for like a month, and when I went back into the smoke shop to find the
Mr. Buttermaker's in the house.
nice, okay,
Yeah.
when I went back into like to buy a vape, right? They had gone from 1,000 puffs to like 5,000 puffs
To
like
10,000
10,000
to
puffs, and then I
20,000.
was just like, they just kept getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and I was
Yeah.
like, and then they were rechargeable, and I was just like, what is going on here? And so
Yeah.
they're lasting longer and longer and longer,
Oh,
but
dude.
the price point hasn't changed,
Oh yeah.
right? It's still for that amount of nicotine that you're getting, right? It's still at the $20-$25 price point.
It is a struggle to quit. Curtis just said he's trying to quit right now. It's a struggle.
So do you want to know how I did it?
How?
So I bought the Nicorette gum,
Oh.
and what I did with the Nicorette gum was anytime I wanted to smoke, I would chew it, right, but I wouldn't chew the full 4 milligrams. I would chew it until I had gotten the thing that I needed to get out of it, right, or that craving that was there. Then I would take that little wad of gum and I would put it into a little container. And so the next time I wanted something, right, I would then go and I would take that little piece of gum and I would chew it for a little bit longer.
Okay.
So that I'm not doing, so I'm reducing down the amount that I have every single time. And then when I got a new piece of gum, I would add that chewed gum into that like little stash.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So by the end of everything, I had like a little wad of gum this big.
That is so
But I was
funny.
just chewing on it, right? And so the nicotine concentration kept going down and down and down. And so over time, it kind of got to the point where after about a week or so, I didn't have any cravings anymore.
That is so interesting.
But the problem that they have with the gum and with the patches is that it's a step down version, right? It goes from 21 to 14 to 7, and it's really hard to step down from 14 to 7 because you can actually feel that jump. When you're doing the little gum method that I had, I couldn't even tell,
Really?
right, that it was coming out of my system, and then at the end of the week, I was like, all right, like I think I'm done. I stopped chewing it.
Really? And that was it.
That was it. And so like then, but then that's what happened, right? Like, I think it was like probably, I want to say like 13 or 14 months after I'd quit, like something happened, right? Where I was just like super anxious, super like nervous. And I was like, I know what will help this out, right? Because I started my diet and I didn't want to go get the ice cream. So I was like, let me just get a vape. It'll be fine.
Ah.
And then I got the vape and I was just like, I'm like back on this, like what the hell, right? But then I did the exact same method and I came right off of it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back to the marijuana, right? There's a
Yeah.
cultural flip that's happened,
Oh yeah.
right? In which it's more acceptable to smoke pot than it is to drink,
Yeah.
right? Because everyone's like, oh, like look at all these health concerns from like alcohol, right? And all the ways that people are dying from the alcohol.
But
and
wouldn't
it
you
almost
prefer
feels like
people-
it's safer?
I mean, yeah. Wouldn't you prefer people to smoke weed versus drink
God,
alcohol?
So yes.
Yeah.
Like as a physician, if you had given me the option, you're like, look, you have to do one or the other. You can't do none, right? Because it's one or the other, right? Would you rather your patient smoke weed or drink alcohol? And it would be like smoke weed.
Okay. Now the question is concentrates or like burning leaf or like
Oh, so we'll get into the concentrates in a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of like how potent they are.
yeah,
But
ridiculous.
the leaves that are there today are not the leaves that like I was smoking
For sure.
back in the day.
For sure.
At all, like even
Sure.
close to that. So the other thing that's really interesting is cannabis use among adults over the age of 65 has dramatically increased.
Yeah.
And so JAMA, the Journal of American Medicine, is stating right that in the past year, people over 65 has risen from 0.4% in 2006 to 2.9% in 2015.
I wonder how much it's gone up since then.
Right, like that's insane, right?
Yeah.
The people that were smoking pot.
I mean, it's 6x jump.
yeah, and that's only in like a 10-year period of time, right? And I think that they were legalizing it around that time
Oh yeah.
in different areas. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine like someone that's like 65 driving around like Canoga Park or like, in like San
Stoned.
Bernardino, like no, like looking for their dealer to be like, how do I score this, right?
Oh,
But
that's a
now,
good point.
but now that it's on every corner or like, like you've got shops for it, I was amazed when I went back to California for my reunion, how
Everywhere.
yeah, it's everywhere and like how nice the shops are. I was
Hmm.
like, it was like an Apple store, right? It was like pristine and it was like and had all these like lighting in there and it wasn't like this neon bright light. It
Right.
was like just
Clean.
very
It was like an
clean,
Apple store.
yeah, clean, classy, like
Yeah.
very. And then they have it like in these little containers. And they're like, "How much would you like, sir?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "We're not personal. We're just seeing what they're." And then like, we've got this over here, we got this over, and then
Yeah.
it just the variety was unreal.
And they're like, tell me your symptoms.
Yeah, and how do you want to be treated, right? And we've got some that are that have more indica in it, more than this, that have more sativa in this, and the mix is like this, and you're gonna get this response from this mix, and I was just like, it was just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, and then the other thing is the highest use rate that's going up. Adults aged 25 to 34 remain the highest use group, right?
You know what? You bring up an interesting point because I used to tell people all the time that the exposure to children, and by children, let's say like kids who can't access legal weed,
Okay.
so 21 and under. So
Can't
for
access legal weed.
yeah,
Okay. All
so
right.
21 and under, we wouldn't even call them children, just say younger people or whatever. But we're talking about like I knew a 9-year-old that smoked weed when I was like 15. Okay, when you minus the drug dealer out of the equation, you're talking about exposing kids to less harmful things on a more consistent basis.
Wait. Less harmful things
Mhm.
on a more consistent basis.
So if a 16-year-old has to go to a drug dealer on the streets to buy weed,
Okay.
and now that drug dealer doesn't have weed today, but he's got this, you think he's just going to be like, oh, I don't have it? Or is he going to be like, I don't got that, but I got this? I'll tell you right now, that happened to me a bunch of times. I went to a drug dealer to buy weed.
Okay. And
That
he's
drug
like,
dealer,
we've got heroin, and you're
yeah,
like, okay.
yeah, or I got pills or coke or whatever.
Okay.
And so I used to always say that like there is we're doing like a major disservice to kids who are buying drugs illegally if we could. But then I was also a kid saying this, like, why can't we go to the weed stores? Because now you're just exposing us to drug dealers.
Oh my God, the inequities, right?
All right.
Can you believe them? They won't let us buy alcohol regularly, so now we have to go to a dealer to get alcohol.
So Curtis says he was in the Delta 8 business when he got sober, and when he ordered the liters of concentrate, they would ask me if he wanted. He would ask him. They would ask him if they wanted him to put it. Oh, they would test it, and
Okay.
and they would ask like, hey, do you want the lab certifications?
Okay.
No telling what's really going on, he says, but it is very potent.
Yeah, no idea. We're gonna get to that, Curtis. Like we're gonna do the statistics and the numbers on that. But then the other thing that's interesting is the cannabis use among women has increased faster than men.
Really?
So there are more women. Like the numbers are increasing at a faster rate.
Probably for the same reason as old people.
Yeah.
You minus the drug dealer out of it.
Yeah, and more accessibility to all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And then the gender gap in cannabis use has narrowed significantly. So but that fits with the previous thing,
Right,
right?
so
Saying that women are so it's like it's
Men
not
are still going up, but women are rising
faster.
way faster.
Yeah, and so like the disparity there is not the same, right?
Okay.
And so this one blew my mind, right?
This is crazy.
Right. So more Americans now report having tried cannabis than cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not talking about vapes, right? So cannabis versus cigarette crossover showed up more reliably in recent epidemiological studies, looking at cannabis only versus cigarette only patterns, right? And they reported that people have smoked and these are not vapes, right? These are just cigarettes.
Yeah.
Have been less likely to smoke a cigarette than to have smoked cannabis
That makes total sense to me, though.
because of all the stigma around smoking and all of the
Yeah. They
Yeah.
did a really good job of like the propaganda campaigns around the harmful effects of
smoking,
tobacco. Yeah.
right? And then they're like, well, then we've got vape here for,
For
you, right?
sure,
So the
for sure.
entire tobacco industry was like, oh,
Well,
we'll solve all of that, right?
yeah.
We'll still make our numbers and our profits. We just won't
Yeah.
sell it as tobacco.
The thing about it is, we don't really know
No
where
idea.
this is gonna lead us.
No idea. I did some deep dives into vapes, and we can look at that maybe next time.
Okay.
But it was really interesting in terms of the health concerns that were coming up
Mhm.
around the vapes versus the cigarettes, and whether it was actually worse or better.
Are you talking about like the lung
The lung
damages and
damage, right,
yeah?
and the silicosis,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that were happening with like the restrictive lung disease. But we don't have enough data on it right now to see
I
what
mean,
is the
yeah,
long term sequela of all of that.
because the vape really hit the market in what 2011,
When?
2010
Yeah,
maybe.
2010, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the kind that you see today. It was
No,
like
it
it
was the
was the
mods
yep
with the
with the
drips
drips,
and
and you
the.
had to like put the oil inside of it, and it was like, do you want the oil based one? Do you want the liquid based or
Mm-hmm.
the
The
water based one?
the vegetable glycerin. It was
Right.
vegetable glycerin and then something else.
And so today it's like, well, which case do you want, right? Do you want
Yeah,
the rechargeable case? Do you want the one that lights up? Do you
it's
want? And so
crazy. There's
it's not.
video games on them now. They got like little Game Boys on them now.
That's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, who are you marketing towards?
Dude, and that's a whole other,
Yeah.
that's a whole other piece of the equation.
Right, but I mean, but the same thing applies for tobacco, right? Like
Yeah,
when
but
you go into a tobacco shop, who are they marketing towards?
they had to like do away with like Joe Camel and like the
Yeah,
cartoons
yeah.
and the.
But they were still using the same plays that they had for tobacco until they came in and they were like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not allowing that for vapes anymore.
Look, the thing about nobody comes up with a law if there is no problem. They wait for the problem to manifest and then
Yeah.
they create
Yes.
boundaries and laws around it.
Yes. Yes.
And so it is nearly impossible to introduce a. I mean, we were just in my class. We were just talking about how Bayer used to market heroin, and it was just on the shelf. Anybody can go in and
Mhm.
buy it. And like the evolution of the opium, of like how opium got to where it is today, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't stigmatized. Everybody did it. A
Right.
lot of people did it. There was like a whole heroin trade that ran the world for a long time.
Yep. Yep.
So it's crazy.
So the next, so that was
It's propylene glycol.
propylene glycol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at adolescents and young adults, right? So the teen cannabis use has remained stable or declined slightly despite legalization.
That's interesting because
Right.
you're minusing the drug dealer.
You're minusing the drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's sort of the same because like if the idea is like if kids wanted to find it, they would find it,
Oh yeah. I
right?
mean, they
So like they're not going to
kratom
stop me.
dealers in middle schools.
Yeah. So if you're looking for it and you're a kid, right, you're gonna find it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if it's legal or if it's not legal, right? And the perceived risk of cannabis among teens has dropped.
The perceived risk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the monitoring of the future has tracked teen attitudes for decades, and the broad pattern over the last decade is a sustained decline in perceived harm for regular marijuana use, even when the use rates didn't surge in any way predicted.
Okay.
So what that's basically saying is that if you went down and you talked to a bunch of like high school kids, right?
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Hey, dude, is weed an issue?" They'd be like, "No, dude, it's all right. It's totally fine."
Yeah.
Right? But not wanting to like go and like smoke it.
So
Or not
that's
having gone and smoked it, right? And so, but if you ask them the same question of like, "Hey, are cigarettes okay?" They'd be like, "Oh, it's terrible,
yeah.
really, really bad." So what it's saying is that they are having a drop in the perceived risk without change in the amount that they're actually using.
Right. And it's like the forbidden fruit almost.
Yeah.
And it says that it's dropped slightly. It might have to do with the elimination of like the average drug dealer for marijuana, but I know that for me and all the kids that I was smoking weed with when I was a kid, it was like we weren't supposed to do it,
So you did it.
and so we did it.
Yeah.
And then there was me. I was like the full blown addict already, so I was.
Well, I think this goes back to the idea that if you want to go do it, you're going to go do it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no barrier that's going to stop you, especially as a kid.
Mhm.
And that the high potency cannabis exposure among teens has increased.
Oh, for sure.
So they aren't smoking the light stuff anymore. They're using the highly concentrated version of
Well, I'd be interested if they could do this somehow. If how many of them are actually smoking weed, and how many of them are eating gummies?
that. Yes. Okay. So that's where the high concentration comes in from, right? So it's the flower. So the first thing that comes off is that the flower has a higher and higher concentration, right?
sure.
They've been genetically modifying it and growing it and cultivating it so that on purpose they have higher concentrations of it, right? But then they're also concentrating it themselves, like through industry, through the gapes, through the brownies, through whatever vehicle you are taking to like ingest it, like the
Yeah.
liquids and things like that. And so NIDA noted that the dispensary products, right, have been of very high potency, and the public health agencies are emphasizing that higher THC is linked to higher risk of adverse psychiatric reactions in vulnerable groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that there's a
Mm-hmm.
higher possibility of like psychosis.
Yeah, I know a girl in Denver. She's a marijuana detractor almost. Anyway, she had like some predisposition towards mental illness,
Okay.
and ended up in psychosis, where she ended up in a psych hospital for months. And so now she goes around and talks to middle schools and high schools about the dangers of high potency THC products,
Yeah.
which is interesting because we're moving into an era where people are looking at marijuana as like a therapeutic. They've got treatment centers in California that let you smoke weed.
In the facility.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that is the reason it's called Cali Sober,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the reason why this is such a concern, right, is that it's the same prevalence of people that are smoking it, but they're smoking a different drug than it was before
Mm-hmm.
because the potency has changed,
Mhm.
right? So it's like instead of it's like going back to the 70s, right, when all the teenagers were drinking beer.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like, you know, in the 80s, they were no longer drinking beer. They're all drinking Everclear,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially what's happening here.
Yeah. I mean, do you know Cody? Cody brings up this point all the time where he says, you know, this isn't marijuana anymore.
It's not. Yeah.
This is cannabis. This is engineered GMOs that looks the same,
Mm-hmm.
genetically totally different. Like we're talking about, this is something totally different.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting. I found, let's see, this is maybe in 2018. Anyway, I was living with this guy. Me and my wife were like a friend of ours, and he had this jar of weed that he said that he'd had for like 20 years.
Okay.
And we smoked this weed, and it was the best weed we'd ever smoked. And he swears it was like 20 years old, and it looked like shit, but it was like the best high I'd ever had.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why,
Like, it
why do you
just-
think that is?
I don't know. It just wasn't so overpowering, and like
Okay.
wasn't like
yeah. It wasn't just like knock you on the floor.
we just
like-
laughed and ate and then went to sleep.
I know. That's what we did.
Yeah.
That's all we did, right?
Yeah.
We watched movies, we giggled around, and like we went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it, right? I don't think that that's what's happening today with the concerts that's going around now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. It is a completely different drug. So edibles are now the most common entry point
Mm-hmm.
for this product with new users under the age of 21.
Which is funny because they can't buy it legally.
Yeah, and so they are more likely to have eaten or drank marijuana than they have to have smoked it
Okay, that
for
makes
their very
sense.
first time. Yeah, and that goes back to like, you know, of course, you had a gummy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Let's just have this and see what happens.
Yeah, and it eliminates like from a. If I put myself in my 15-year-old's
Mhm.
body, I would say my parents can't smell it.
Yeah.
So it also like alleviates the chances of getting caught.
You have the mind of an addict and an
Yeah.
alcoholic. Like,
Yeah.
how do I get away with this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's what they talked about, right? The edibles remove the smoke barrier
Mm-hmm.
and changes the risk profile because the onset is delayed and overconsumption is easier. So the very first time patients go to the ER for like panic visits from the marijuana is
Mhm.
because they took one and they're like, oh,
It
like,
didn't do anything.
yeah, we should have another one, right? and then they're like, we should have another one. And then then they think that it's bad weed, but when in reality what it was they were
The
just
onset takes 45 minutes.
right. And so like they're not waiting for the onset to happen. They're like, it didn't do anything. I should
Yeah.
probably have another one. And then all of a sudden they're 3 in on their very first time.
yeah, it's
And
funny
is it-
because you see this in movies all the time.
Yeah.
There was that one movie. It's like all of the celebrities. It was like they were all like dying or something, and it was one of them was like,
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. The
You
one
know?
it was like Armageddon.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's
they're
it,
all
yeah.
about to die.
yeah,
and
yeah.
It was the end
It's
of the
called
world.
the end of the world or something.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Okay.
The end of something.
yeah.
Or no, in the end.
In the end,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
that
end
is
of
it. Yeah. And there's like, he called it something. It's like Seth Rogen, of
Yeah,
course,
of course. Yeah.
and like his little crew.
They're like
and-
the new Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Cheech
Yeah.
and Chong were the
like
man.
back in the 80s, right? That's what we watched.
But it was like this bowl of chocolate, and each piece of chocolate had 6 grams of psilocybin in it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. All right.
And the girl was like eating it, And the guy is like, dude, you ate what? And she was like, what? It was just this whole scene about like
Yeah.
she way over consumed and didn't have any
Yeah.
clue.
And then they're going to the ER being like and freaking out because they have no idea what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well,
They
it was
have
the
no
end of the
idea how-
world too. Can you imagine that?
And yeah, and,
Dude.
and all the crazy things that were happening in that
Yeah.
movie. Yeah. Just imagine being high through all of that. So vaping cannabis among adolescents has increased sharply between 2017 and 2020. That's
Not surprised.
Not surprising at all, right? The THC concentrations used by teens today are much higher than a decade ago.
But you know what is surprising about it is they cannot legally go into these shops and buy it.
Right, but
So,
I mean,
how are they getting it?
so I had a friend who knows like a drug dealer in Houston, and the way that he brings all of his marijuana in is not like he imports it in from California.
Oh,
So he buys like a whole bunch and then wraps it around and wraps it in these packages and then flies it in,
Oh,
or
wow.
like or transports it in
Ships it
somehow.
in somehow.
Yeah, and he's like, it's been fine. It hasn't been an issue whatsoever. But like that's how they're getting it.
hero's journey. Yep, that's what definitely she went on.
Oh, for the yep,
Yeah.
100%, right? And so what they're showing is that the potency of the typical flower, right, is around 20% higher with the extracts than it is for the flower itself.
I mean, yeah, you're seeing it now where it's like, well, I mean, the last time I was smoking weed, which was a few years ago, they were talking about like 90% pure
Yeah.
THC.
Yeah, and so but that's nowhere near what we're smoking these days, right? So when adults my age and like doctors my age are like, "Oh, like what's the big deal, right? Like
Mr. Buttermaker asks, do you have any advice for anybody who overconsumes edibles?
overconsumes edibles, right? Like what to take or what to drink to like prevent it from
Maybe.
getting into your system. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'd have to like look that up. I don't know if there's any way of like delaying the onset, right? Like it's not like you can drink some milk and it would be fine, right? Or like, or maybe it would take a whole bunch of fats because it is fat soluble,
Yeah.
right? And so you eat a whole bunch of like butter or something like that, or something like greasy or fatty to like to weigh down how it's coming into your bloodstream
That's funny because, you know,
as it's being digested.
we would always be like when I smoked weed, we always knew that like eating killed your high.
Yeah, I don't know, same thing, right? So
Yeah.
so whenever I was smoking back in the day,
Oh,
it was
he's asking managing panic and dread. How do you manage that?
like when it starts to come out.
Yeah.
you can meditate or
That's
like
a really good
go-
way to put it.
go to-
Panic and dread.
But I mean, that's overdosing, right? Like you've
Yeah.
dissociated from reality, and you're not in control of this like high anymore.
Yeah, you're definitely on the roller coaster.
Right. And I'm just I mean I've had times like that when I was so what I learned when I was smoking was if I drank and then I smoked,
It was all bad.
it would it would accentuate my my high. It would make my high even worse. But if I smoked and then I drank, it would amplify the alcohol. And so it was like, well, what kind of night do you want to have?
Yeah.
Right? And like whichever one, what kind of night you wanted to have, you do the other one first.
Okay, so what if they don't drink?
And they're having like this particular
Mm-hmm.
panic attack. I don't know. I mean, all I could do when that was happening to me was I would just go into a quiet space and I'd be like, look, I'm being overstimulated right now.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of be in my own world. But then that's when like the shit in my own head would start up.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so you weren't getting outside stimulation. It was just all internal stimulation.
Mhm.
And then I couldn't fall asleep.
You know what? So some of the most like introspective moments of my life came from smoking weed.
Okay.
Like I also learned that we live in a time where everything is in a box. We live in boxes. We drive in boxes.
Yeah.
Like it was a really weird realization. I also didn't go inside for 3 weeks after that.
After the realization,
Mm-hmm.
imagine like going and smoking weed on the outside or like just going out into nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Doing like these walkabouts and like going into nature and just being high in nature.
Mm-hmm.
think
I used
would
to
be
do that.
A lot more fun, a lot more surreal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so this goes back. So the previous thing, right? The THC concentrations by teens today is a lot higher. So the argument that like, oh, I used to smoke weed back in the day is just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't make that argument anymore. The age of first cannabis exposure has shifted slightly older in legal states.
Okay, that makes sense too,
Why does that make sense to you?
because you're eliminating the drug dealer.
Okay.
And so the access to weed is restricted to an older demographic.
The ones that can actually
Go in and buy
talk
it.
to somebody and buy that.
Mhm.
Okay. Or they've got friends that will buy it for them and then give that to them.
Yeah, but even still, it's like I knew. So I was 18 when I got my first medical card, and there would be like kids that wanted me to like go buy it for them, and I'd be like, no, you gotta wait, you know, like
Matt, the responsible one.
yeah, for sure. But I do think that there is like an air of like, hey, if we want to keep this going, we can't fuck it up. It's like the alcohol thing. Like, how many people drink but buy alcohol for minors? Probably very little people. Like,
No,
amount
I've
of
like
people.
never done that. But I remember when I was under the age and I
Going
was
fishing?
in college to be like, "Hey man, will you buy me some alcohol?"
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, we
we'll
used to
take
sit out.
whatever you can get us, we'll take.
Yeah, we used to sit out front of liquor stores and just ask any paisa that was going in there,
Okay.
and we'd be like, "We'll buy you beer if you buy us beer."
Okay.
Yeah.
And that worked
Oh, every weekend.
every weekend.
Every weekend.
Yeah, and I think so when I was in college, I was living in South Central LA. So there was always some liquor store that you could go to in
Oh,
the
yeah.
hood that would like sell it to you, no questions asked.
hmm
Um,
You know what's funny? There was a Chipotle that you could buy. They would sell it to anybody.
beer?
hmm
Okay, I didn't really drink beer. It was more of like, let me go find a liquor store, hard alcohol.
Oh yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it for the dollar for dollar, right? How like what's the most bang you can get for your buck?
When I get my hair cut, I see grandmas in and out of the smoke shop for sure.
That goes back to the previous quote,
For
right?
sure.
Of the demographic that's like rising the fastest
For sure.
is the over 65. And
Why do you
it's-
think that is? Other than
Me-
like eliminating the drug dealer, which
medicinally, right? So if they're using it for arthritis, for glaucoma, for like whatever back in the day when we were
it's
getting
really good for.
yeah,
like,
I mean
it
it's
really
it's
actually works.
amazing for arthritis and it's amazing for a lot of like the muscle aches and pains that come from it. So if you're getting older and you're like I don't really want to deal with this, right? Or you don't want to take any like the drugs that they're
Opiates
giving it,
and-
yeah,
Mhm.
like that's probably a better option, and they're probably using it for that.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm
a good
like at
point.
65, you've earned it. Like I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah.
okay with you doing whatever it is that you want to do.
Well, within reason.
I mean, how bad is it gonna get for Grandpa, right? At like,
That's true. That's true.
I mean, like, what is he gonna do with the pot? I mean, it's like it's my biggest issue with pot and the younger generation is that it robs you of your motivation to do stuff.
Additionally, I know a lot of people. We used to call them burnt balls, right? Where
Okay.
like they were kids smoking weed, and they just very evidently, like very apparently, they just seemed to get stupider.
Yeah. Have you ever read the Marijuana Anonymous book?
No,
It's so good.
Really?
And I got it for my patients. I wanted to be really well versed in what the literature was saying.
okay,
And the doctor's opinion for the medical marijuana side of it is unbelievable.
really.
And it basically
I'm buying it right
it,
now.
it goes on and it talks about so like how the inside of the big book of AA there's a doctor's opinion.
Mhm.
There was a doctor that wrote an exact same doctor's opinion for marijuana, and he basically went through and he said, there's the biggest issue with marijuana is that it doesn't cause any outside like issues, or like there's no like you're not gonna get arrested for it, you're not gonna go to jail, you're not gonna like lose your job, right? But what it does do for you is that it robs you of your potential, and they don't really see it in their 20s or their 30s and their 40s, right? But like they get to their 40s and they look back on their life and they're like all these missed opportunities because they just weren't doing anything with it.
Is it the Life with Hope book? Is that what it's
Let me see what
called?
it's called. Let me see what it looks like. No, that's not it.
Okay.
I will find it for you.
Okay. Oh yeah, that makes sense too. The college age adults show the highest rates of heavy use. Does this demographic of people specifically have the highest statistical rates of use of all drugs?
That I don't know. Does it have the highest rates of use of all drugs?
Yeah, and alcohol.
Oh, well, so if it surpassed alcohol in terms of usage, then the answer to that is yes, because
Okay.
alcohol previously was the
No, I'm
highest
talking
one.
about this specific age?
College age adults showing the highest rates of heavy use. No, it doesn't. It doesn't include alcohol.
Okay.
It's just the marijuana side of it. I gotta find it. I have it at home. It might be this one.
Well, just let me borrow it.
Yeah, I think this is it because I think the cover changed, but it's the same. It's the same symbol, but the doctor's opinion inside of that was transformative.
Oh,
And
this
so
is the 12 and 12 for Marijuana Anonymous.
I think that's it. I think that's essentially the big book.
Okay.
Right. And so inside of it was a doctor's opinion, and that doctor's opinion is the one that I give to all of my patients to read, or we'll read it together when I was doing the diagnostic, and people would come in and they're like, I just smoke weed, and I'd be like, okay, let's read this together. Right. And we'd read it together, and they'd be like, oh, that is what's happening to me. Like I literally have no motivation whenever I smoke weed, and it's just their life just kind of slowly fizzles away, and then they don't really achieve the dreams and hopes that they had, and it's super insidious around that. Right. So it's not a bottom that you hit. It's just kind of like that slow, quiet desperation that happens, and that is really scary. And then if that's the shifting demographic, right, like you'll have an entire generation of people that like didn't meet their potential.
That sucks.
Yeah. So when we go back to the college age use, right? What the reporting is that 19 to 30 as the peak band for frequent use. So that's when people are using it the most often. And that includes high risk modes, including vaping and dabbing.
Have you ever dabbed?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. Forget it then.
What's dabbing?
It is the worst experience for like a first time smoker.
Okay.
It's the
Is it-
most
is it-
highly
is it an
concentrated.
oil-based one?
No, what they do is they just concentrate it's the oil out of the plant.
Okay.
And it's just the oil from the plant. There is no additional things, like you're not baking it into anything. You're not doing it, and then you're smoking it, and it's like one of the purest ways to get like the highest amount of THC. And they got like 99% purity.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story. Let's go over this real quick, and then I'll tell you a story about a kid that came into my clinic.
Okay.
So college age kids also, this is like the peak window for anxiety disorders and first episodes of psychosis,
Right.
which makes the potency of the marijuana, the frequency that they're using it, and the vulnerable population. It's like an intersection of like all the worst things that could possibly happen, happening all at once.
That is so crazy.
And so I had this kid who was, I think he was like around 19 or 20 years old. Came from like a great, really like affluent, like wealthy family, and he was going to school, and he had to drop out because he had like fallen into like psychosis and like these behavioral patterns that were shifting. And he came in and he admitted to smoking weed, right? And I was like, okay, that's fine, right? And so we gave him a drug test, and he came back positive, right? And we're like, okay, like it'll be in your system for a while, right? I gave him a drug test again, like 2 weeks later, still positive. I gave him a drug test again, like a month later, and it was still positive,
yeah.
right? And I kept giving it to him, right? And his parents were like, we think he's smoking. He's like, I swear to God, I'm not smoking. I swear to God, I'm not smoking. And so then it turns out he was smoking.
Okay.
He was smoking. And like the next time around, right, he was like, I promise I'm not smoking this time, right? And his parents were like, bullshit. We don't believe him.
Yeah.
So what we did was we did the quantitative.
Quantitative testing.
And so his amount of THC in his system was like the cutoff for a positive on the
2,000 nanograms.
I think the cutoff, like the scale that I had was 6, was like less than 6 is where it was positive.
Okay.
This kid came in at like 500.
Okay.
And so, but then I tested him like a week later, and it was like, 400,
Yeah.
right? And I tested him like a week later, it was like 350, and it just slowly started coming down out of his system. But
yeah.
that's in his system, in his blood, in his bloodstream at the time, right? Has this baseline amount of marijuana. Like, at what time is it going to be? At what point in time is it going to be completely clear of all of that?
Yeah. So when I went to the Salvation Army in 2015, your blackout period is 1 month, right? 30 days. And you have to pass a drug test in
What's
order.
a blackout period?
So you can't leave the facility.
Okay, got it. Okay.
You can't go to outside meetings. You can't like have a job that goes off the facility or anything like that. 30 days. 30 days. They test you again to see. It took me 58 days to stop pissing dirty for weed. 58 days.
That's a lot.
And we were
right.
they were testing me like every other day to like
Okay.
see if, all right, is today the day? Is today the day? And it's
Yeah.
very obvious I'm not smoking weed. It took almost 2 months for me to be clean
But
off
the
weed.
the scary thing with that is that it will go down, and then based upon how it's being released inside your body, it'll
Oh
pop
yeah,
back up.
oh
So
yeah.
like a
So
week
they.
later, it could like it'd be positive again. You're like, you
Hmm.
smoked, and you're like, I didn't smoke.
Yep, yep, yep. And because it's stored in your fats,
Yeah.
and a lot of people get clean. But see, the cool thing about, not even cool thing, but like, the thing about a lot of people get clean and they start eating a lot,
Yeah.
right? And so it will gradually drop at like a much more consistent
What do you
rate.
mean they get clean and start eating a lot?
Yeah, like you get clean and then you start eating consistently.
Okay, not like the munchies.
No, 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 no. But like you're gonna eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at treatment,
Okay, got it.
right?
Okay,
Versus like
understood. Yeah,
you're on the streets, you might,
sporadically eating.
right?
Yeah.
And so you start putting on fat stores, and it just decreases in a more consistent way.
Okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So cannabis use disorder diagnosed among adults has been increasing. That's obvious, right? So we're seeing more and more of that inside of the treatment facility, as they're not coming in for alcohol, they're being sent into treatment for their cannabis use, right? And everyone that comes in for the cannabis use, right, they don't identify with any of the other alcoholics that are there, right? So these young adults are coming in and they're coming into a cohort of like people that are smoking, like, taking fentanyl or
Mm-hmm.
taking or drinking alcohol, right? Or like these older people or like someone's using like a different substance. They're like, it's not an issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
why am I even in treatment? I smoke a little bit of weed. What's the big deal?
You know what's funny though? On the other side of it, I know people who were in treatment with people that were there for just smoking weed, and when they would hear that, they would be like, "What?
Yeah,
Why are you here?"
yeah,
You know, and it's like the reality is it can become a major fucking
yeah,
problem.
yeah. There's a thing called a failure to launch,
Mm-hmm.
where these kids are coming in and they're,
Isn't that a really good movie? Wasn't that a good movie?
was that a movie?
I think so, or like a show.
I don't know, but that's
Okay,
the clinical term that we were using, like with a
that's the
bunch.
clinical term.
I mean,
Failure to
I
launch.
guess, is it the clinical? I don't know if it's in the DSM-5, but that's what the therapist that I was working with were calling
That
it.
makes sense.
They're like, he's got failure to launch, and I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, I'm like, he's 35 years old. They're like, yeah, he just
He never
never,
took off.
never like never, yeah,
Self-actualized.
or did the thing that he was supposed to go do.
That's so crazy. I mean, you hear it really often now. It is a very common thing for kids to return home after college
Yeah, and live at home
and stay at home.
and take care of their parents.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And their parents are 45, and they like just continue to take care of their parents till they're 80. They just don't do anything.
their parents are 45.
I mean, yeah, like right.
No.
Yeah, they have them when they're 20. They could easily
Okay,
have
have them when
45.
they're like 30. Okay, 30. Let's just call it 30.
Okay, so 55 even. No,
Okay.
nobody needs to be taken care of at 55.
Yeah, no, they don't.
No,
No,
but
they're coming home because it's like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to live at home. I wouldn't want to live at home because they would drive me nuts.
I wouldn't
drive
wanna-
me
yeah.
crazy, right? But I mean, free room board, like that was a dream for a while.
okay, it is a movie. It's not a good movie. Mr. Buttermaker says, okay, so he says, I think if it's used as a tool, not when you're young, and not as a way of coping, it can be useful. It can be a useful catalyst to increase awareness, and if motivated to do the integration work. And I always tell people, you can build a house with a hammer, or you can beat someone's head in with it.
Yeah,
The use of the tool is not the tool's fault. It is on you to
Yeah.
dictate the outcome.
but I mean, how many 18-year-olds are like, I'm gonna use this to realize my full potential,
Right, okay.
and how many of them are like let's get fucked up this weekend,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where like you would love for them to like to use this appropriately, right? But if you're gonna give it to like, not saying that kids are monkeys, right? But like the analogy would be like you're giving a hammer to a monkey, right? Like, what are they gonna do with it?
Yeah. Probably gonna
Right.
hit somebody.
Right. As opposed to like actually going and building a house with it, right?
Yeah,
Like you
for
have to
sure.
give the tool to the appropriate person to go do that particular
For sure.
thing.
For sure.
And then so the last fun fact that we have, right, is that young adults are more likely to perceive cannabis as a wellness adjacent than something that they're doing recreationally. So this goes back to Mr.
That's kind of
Butterworth's
cool
thing.
though.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like but they're doing like micro dosing now, as if it's like
Yeah.
cannabis or like if it's like psilocybin. And they're like, we're just gonna do a little bit of weed here and there just to get like the clarity around it.
I mean, does it work?
I don't know. I've never really investigated any of that.
Yeah, the use of a tool, like it's an inanimate object. Can you abuse a doll?
I don't know. Like,
I mean, can you abuse a table?
can you abuse a hammer?
Can you abuse? I mean, you can do abusive things with hammers.
Yeah, I can do abusive things with a table.
Okay, right? But I don't know. I've been thinking about this lately. It's like, is it really like? Do I have a drug abuse issue or do I have like a me abuse issue?
Oh, the problem's definitely Matt.
For sure. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
There's no,
But it's like the
there's
terminology.
no question about it. Right?
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely no question. Matt is in the
Yeah,
equation that we
yeah,
have. Matt
yeah,
is definitely the problem.
The problem
sure.
is me. I am the problem. But that's the beauty of recovery, right? It's finally realizing that it's not about the substance. It's not about like the childhood stuff, right? It's me. I'm the only one that can actually change. I'm the only one that has the capacity to change my reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the beauty of it, also.
Mr. Buttermaker's suggesting that he was thinking of more like a midlife type thing,
Okay.
and I'd agree. You look at like there are very public figures nowadays.
Uh huh.
Famously Joe Rogan, right? Like
Okay.
this is somebody that a lot of people look up to, have a lot of respect for. He's like a highly successful high achiever. Does things that a very small amount of the world can do. He's in great shape too,
Okay.
and he's a daily pot smoker.
Okay. So I am by no means advocating for California sober,
Me neither.
right?
Oh well, I'm also not advocating for addicts to go out there and try things that can be a slippery slope. But for the rest of the world,
it's not even so. So what I am saying is that I'm not advocating for anything that an addict would have to hide doing. Anything that you had to do, right? That you couldn't talk to your sponsor about, or talk to your fellowship about, or talk to the people around you about, I wouldn't go do.
okay, let me ask you this then. If somebody says that they are sober,
Mm-hmm.
but they only smoke weed, what would you say to them?
What program are they in?
They're in a 12-step program.
Which one?
You could, I mean, any of them. We could, okay, so let's say the originators.
So like
Let's say
double
AA, yeah.
Okay, then I'd be like, you define your own sobriety, right? Like,
Right.
have you discussed that with your sponsor? Have you talked with your group about it? How do you feel about all of those things?
Yeah.
Is it blocking you from getting the oxytocin? Is it blocking you from feeling safe with your group? Are you hiding it from other people? And if the answer to those questions are like yes, and you're not getting the full benefits of the program, then like that's an issue,
Okay.
right? So for me, it all comes back to, am I being open and honest with my group so that I can stay in integrity with them and get the oxytocin? The moment I start doing things that prevent me from getting the oxytocin is when it becomes dangerous,
Okay.
right? So like in California, right, where like maybe I don't know what the percentage of it, but if everyone in California is like, hey, yeah, weed's okay, and you're going to a group where they're like, yeah, dude, weed's okay, and you're still part of that group and you're getting the oxytocin, then by all means, right? But I mean, if you're doing it here in like Texas,
Houston.
right, they're gonna be like, no, dude, go pick up a Desire check.
Yeah.
And I there was a guy that came up to me and asked me in a meeting. He was like, yeah, like my sponsor told me that I wasn't sober anymore because I went to Colorado and I intentionally like smoked marijuana. Like he went there with a bunch of friends and it was like, yeah, I'm gonna partake in this. It's legal here.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to his sponsor and his sponsor dropped him. And I was like, that's really interesting, right? Because it's one of the traditions, right, is that we have no opinion on outside issues,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then this becomes an outside issue, right? So like, who are you to say what this is?
I mean, okay, so do you know? Let me bring this up really quick.
But the thing is, I'm not advocating for anyone to go out and do this, right? I want to make that very, very clear.
For sure.
Right? But if you have, like, that's where the old timers sat me down and were like, "This is what," like, because I talked to my sponsor about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Well, what does this mean?" Right? And like, he's got 35 years,
Yeah.
and then the like, I love talking to old timers,
So
right?
the guy that drank the pear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's got 1 year now, but I don't consider that.
No, I don't
Yeah,
either.
I mean, it's still, he still has the
I get-
experience that I want from him.
And for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole. There's a fallacy, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I think there is an actual fallacy around people's thoughts about the restart after the relapse.
Uh huh.
And I think that it has evolved into this thing where it's like you zero out in your worth in the program if you use.
Yeah. That's all based upon the time. But the thing is, you come back with so much better experiences.
For sure.
So I've got people that so kratom's a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of how a lot of I've had a bunch of old timers come into the hospital that have been sober in the program for decades,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming back in and they're on kratom, and I'm like, and then they get off of it and they're super grateful that we've taken them through the detox process. But I tell them, I want you to go into meetings and I want you to share about it.
Yeah.
I want you to share your experience with it, right? Because that's going to help somebody else be like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't go and do this. Or if somebody is doing it right now, to be like, hey, you don't necessarily have to if you don't want to.
Do you know what CCAR is?
Mm-mm.
It's the Connecticut. Damn it. It's the Connecticut. Hold on. They're the ones that came up with the philosophy of they would ask like when is a person in recovery, and they're
Okay, yeah, we talked about this,
yeah,
right?
and
So when is a person in recovery?
their answer is a person is in recovery when and if they say they are.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
100%.
But that kind of leaves this ambiguous, like, you know, and the peer support framework really hones in on this, right? Because
Mhm.
they're really looking at a harm reduction point of view from like the actual lessening of the exposure to harmful things as harm reduction. By definition, that's what they're saying.
Okay, so let me change the question,
Okay.
right? So instead of like when are you in recovery, right? When are you sober? Right? Like that's a really interesting question, right?
It is.
At what point do you determine that you are sober?
Okay, so because there's like sober minded, and then there's like
Yeah.
bodily sober.
Physically sober, emotionally sober, sober from like a particular substance.
Because
Like,
I'll tell you this, like my emotional sobriety, probably like on the scale of emotional sobriety, people would still say that I'm not sober.
I would say that on a scale of emotional sobriety, that waxes and wanes for me on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
based upon how much fear I'm in.
Okay.
The more fear that I'm in, the less emotionally sober I tend to be. And the more I'm operating out of character defect, because those character defects are the things that are driving me. But when I'm in a place of serenity and I'm like getting my oxytocin and I'm feeling good about where I'm at in the world and my place in the world, like, yeah, completely sober, conscious contact, right? But that doesn't happen every single day because I'm human and that's part of the human experience.
So yeah, when are you sober? I don't know. I mean, because there are levels within recovery of
Yeah.
sobriety. Like, because you might, like, there's the initial sobriety from substances,
Right. And
and
that we
then
consider that physically sober.
right.
Right. I mean, they talk about that all the time. That
Mm-hmm.
when are you dry versus when are you sober?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, biologically, you are sober when you start getting the oxytocin.
Okay, so the when is somebody in recovery? That is there is a lot of ambiguity around what recovery actually is then. And also, definitionally, like if it's left up to the person,
Uh huh.
and this kind of goes back to what you were saying about the guy that got dropped, is you know, is that proper or is that like okay for people's like someone else's opinion of me being sober to dictate whether or not they work with me?
So it's okay to have boundaries,
Okay.
right? But I don't think it's okay for me to come back to someone and be like, you're not sober because of X, Y, and Z, and because you are behaving in this particular way, I am not going to work with you.
Okay.
Right? So that's putting the responsibility onto the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not okay because that's a lot of judgment on the part of the person that's doing that.
Okay.
What is okay is for you to be like, hey, I can't work with someone because these are the boundaries that I have
Okay.
around the people that I'm sponsoring.
Okay.
And that's completely legitimate, right? So it's not about the other person, it's about you and what your boundaries are.
Okay.
Um,
CCAR is the Connecticut Community of Addiction Recovery.
Okay.
And they were like the gold standard of peer support,
Advocacy. Okay.
certifying board. For a long time, they were like who people like. If you had a CCAR, you were like a god. You had like the best,
Okay.
right? And this is their philosophy: is a person is in recovery, if and when they say they are. And when I heard that the first time, it changed who I looked at as far as who I can help. Because now,
Yeah, if
now
there's it's a it's the it's a desire chip.
yeah.
It's a desire to stay sober.
Hmm.
It's not it's you don't have to be sober. You just have to have a desire to stay sober. And
Yeah.
that's what I think they're saying when they say when are you in recovery?
Hmm.
Is that desire to actually be in recovery.
As you go deeper into their curriculum, they are literally talking about like going into the trenches, finding the heroin addict that wants to be sober and helping them work a plan to get off heroin,
Okay.
right? And so there's there what they say is that like abstinence isn't required for recovery.
No. I mean people will come into meetings all the time drunk.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you're gonna say that tell that person you can't come to the meeting? I remember when I was in early sobriety, right? I was in a morning meeting. It was 6:30 in the morning, and my dad was with me
Hmm.
because my dad was staying with me, and he when I would go to a 6:30 meeting, because my sponsor was there, and the idea was for my dad to like meet my sponsor and like hang out with him and have breakfast. So I'd go to the meeting. My dad would like walk around the mall, right, doing these laps around the mall.
Dude, why do old people do that? Have you ever noticed that here?
What? Just walk?
The Baybrook Mall,
Uh
if you
huh.
go at like 10 o'clock in the morning, the only people that are there are people that work there and like 65 pluses
Yeah.
just
They
walking
love
circles
it.
in the
That's
mall.
like you regress back to being a teenager, right?
Oh.
Because like as a teenager, right, that's all you did was you just hung out at the mall and like talk to your friends and socialize there, right? So now the mall is a hangout spot. My
Oh.
dad would love going to the mall. So I used to live by the Galleria,
Uh-huh.
and when he was staying with me when I was like drinking, he would go to the mall during the day. He would like do his like stock market stuff.
Uh-huh.
But then in the like as soon as the market closed, he would walk over to the Galleria, just walk around there,
That's
and
dope.
that was like his entertainment for the day, and he loved doing it.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. Where were we going with this?
Abstinence isn't required for.
Abstinence is so we went to the morning meeting,
Yeah.
and there was a guy that came into the 6 o'clock meeting, and he just reeked of alcohol.
Okay.
Right, and I was just like, oh my god, he smells so bad, right? Like it was just booze was coming out of him. Like he didn't say anything, he didn't share, right? And I went up to my sponsor and I was like, hey, sponsor, I think that guy's drunk over there. And he's like, what? Can you believe it? An alcoholic drunk at an AA meeting? What are the odds?
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, shouldn't we go and do something about it? Like, should he be here? And he's like, where else would you rather he be? And I was like, so true. I would much rather you be in an AA meeting drunk than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have found recovery that way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how to stop drinking, right? But what they did know is that they could go to a meeting every single time. There's this guy at Lambda. His name's Dave Yu, and he shares about how he consistently would go to a meeting drunk over and over and over again, right? But he knew that it was safe there, and he knew that he could like bond with the people. And eventually, one day, right, like 3 months later, 6 months later, he sobered up.
Oh.
But that goes back to building a healthy attachment and how the healthy attachment is the most important thing. It's not stopping the drinking, right? So for me, the first step of recovery, the most important step of recovery is not step one, it's step two,
Okay.
right? And step two is came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's an iterative process of like your higher power getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so the most important thing is not to stop drinking. The most important thing is to keep coming back,
Okay.
right? And that's what step two is. Step two is keep coming back, right? And as you keep coming back, your higher power gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. The conversations around like what is required for attendance or I mean the reality is recovery the people that I'm most worried about today and we've talked about this are the people out there who are exposing themselves to fentanyl who had these negative experiences
Yeah.
and now they're rejecting recovery because of these experiences.
Yeah.
And so, how do we get them to understand that like recovery isn't necessarily this thing?
So that's your population that you identify with the most and that you're like the most passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the population that I think about, which relates to that population, is the segment of young people, and they're like 18 to like 25, 26 years old, right? That can't stay sober and they relapse over and over and over again. and they can't figure out why they're relapsing, and it's because of this particular mood instability.
Yeah.
And so it's the group that feels disenfranchised from the recovery community because they're constantly relapsing over and over and over again. How do you
Yeah.
give them a different model to be like, you're not broken. It's not that it's not working for you, right? There's something else going on.
For sure.
And so it's like, how do I create that? How do you encourage or try to foster a more loving, welcoming community around that so that they see it in a different light and it's not as black or white as like you're either sober or you're not,
Yeah.
right? How do you look at the is it the gray? No, like how do you look at the humanity of it,
For sure.
right? And not say it's because of this, right? It's not you're either sober or you're drunk. You're either in recovery or not in recovery, right? Like there's got to be a more compassionate way of looking at it.
I mean, yeah. What is the language around it?
Yeah, I think that's really important, right?
Yeah.
Because the language is what keeps people out of the
Oh, yeah.
the rooms or keeps them in the rooms.
Oh yeah. 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 And then how do you reach out to those people? I think eventually we might be able to reach them through this too.
Yeah, I think I think for me that's the whole purpose of the model.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The whole purpose of the model is how do I give you a different way of looking at it so that you can sort of be okay with this idea and not feel excluded by it because it boils it down to the biological side of it, not
yeah.
not the psychological side, not the spiritual side, right? It's the biology of it.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me why, I mean, we talk about this all the time. The why is much, much easier than the should.
Yeah.
And I think people will respond really well to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the weed thing with the recovery community is an interesting one because I feel like there's like two sides of this. There's like the complete abstinence people, and then the people that it's like they feel like it's okay, but they still wouldn't do it, but they feel like it's okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
You know
that
what I'm
they
saying?
yeah, so that they wouldn't do it themselves, but if
Right.
someone walked into the meeting like hi, they'd be like,
Eh,
as long as he's not drinking, dude.
yeah.
But would they say the same thing about him doing like meth?
No, but that's the thing is weed is like this almost okay. There's I think that there's a component of this as well. Weed in and of itself, like weed, been around for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah.
Like
I think when I was doing a presentation on it, I tracked it back to 3600 BC.
3,600, 5,000.
Yeah.
Like we're talking
Yeah.
about a really ancient medicinal plant that has been ritualistically used in many, many different religions. And ultimately, most people that have smoked weed can point to it and say, I'm definitely not going to go rob a bank over weed.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to like throw my family away over weed. And I'm probably never
Yeah.
going to go to jail over weed. And I'm probably never going to like royally fuck my life up over weed.
Yes.
But it isn't just weed anymore.
It isn't just weed anymore. And this goes back to the doctor's opinion
Yeah.
in the Marijuana Anonymous
I
book.
gotta read it now.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Okay.
I can't recommend it any higher. And maybe we'll do I mean, because I'm sure there's some good doctor's opinions and some of the other stuff too.
I wonder if we can find it. You think can
I used to
find
have a PDF of it. I don't have it anymore.
it? Okay, let me see.
Let's jump to the next section, right?
Okay.
So the potency and product changes, because that's what we were kind of alluding to in terms of like how is this changed over time. And so the average THC potency of flowers has increased into the high teens and 20 percentile. This is the flower,
Wow.
right? So,
So what is the highest that you've seen? Because I know what the highest I've seen is.
in a flower, I don't know.
37%.
In a flower, okay, that's really high, right?
That's really high. Because when you think about like 37% of this bud is THC.
Yeah,
That's almost 50% of the actual material is.
Right.
That's a lot.
and so what's happening is that the potency inflations are kind of explaining the adverse reaction that people are having to it. The panic attacks, the psychosis, the severe vomiting. You know what cyclic vomiting syndrome is?
Cyclic vomiting syndrome. I mean, is it related to the definition of the words?
Yeah.
Then I can figure it out.
Okay, so that's what happens when someone smokes pot at a really, really high rate and high frequency. They come in and they can't stop vomiting.
Yeah.
And so they're like, there's nothing calms it down.
Is it a stomach issue?
They don't really know what the mechanism of action is, but they just can't stop vomiting until enough of the weed is like out of their system, and then they stop.
You know what? It's pretty common.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really common. So
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
common that it's like, I mean, of
I've
all
seen
the
it.
thing of all the things I learned in medical school, right? About drugs and all those things, cyclic vomiting syndrome was like the one where
Okay.
like you were just like, that's like so common that it's something that they teach you, and they're like, this is how you treat it, or this is how you manage it.
How do you manage it?
Ativan, and then antiemetics,
Okay, so this is what I was
and then
gonna.
fluids.
This is what I was gonna say to Mr. Buttermaker, is that they probably can't I don't know if they actually do this around the panic and the dread, if they give them benzos to calm them down or not. But I know that on
Oh,
the
I thought he was talking about what do you do when you're having it like at home by yourself?
no, I think he's asking like medically, hey
Oh,
doc, what
okay,
can you
okay,
guys do?
okay. So when, sorry,
Yeah.
I totally misunderstood that. I apologize for that. So when they come in that particular state, we don't usually admit them. We give them Ativan or like lorazepam, and then try to
Oh,
get them like sleep it off.
okay,
We give them a benzo,
okay.
right? And if it's like really bad, if they're like having a psychotic break,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't seen that with the marijuana itself. I have seen it with the synthetic
Oh,
marijuana.
yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's so common with synthetic marijuana. It's not even funny. But the regular marijuana, I have not seen psychosis so bad that they have to be like inpatient or hospitalized in a psych facility.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it usually wears off once the high is gone.
Mm-hmm. Which is like 2 hours, right?
Yeah. Okay, so the concentrates, right, commonly exceed 60 to 90% THC.
Mm-hmm.
So in like a gummy or like, I mean, we only saw those levels of what we're talking about back in my day with like hash.
Yeah.
Hash was like the concentrated version of all of that. And like nobody ever smoked that. You had to go to Europe for that.
And now they like hash isn't so much of a common thing anymore because of how
Concentrated this is.
yeah, and it's also like when you're talking about like the consistency and purity of like a product, it's like a dirty product.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's not just like the THC that's inside
right.
of it. Yeah.
There's a bunch of material in it, and it just isn't as like. Whereas, do you know what the rosin is?
Resin?
Rosin. They take like a high pressure
Oh, and they crystallize it?
They press all of the liquids out of
I
it.
have my very first sponsee ever, right? Shout out to John. Moved to Oregon, and he was like, "I'm gonna be an oil miner," and I was like, "What? You're gonna mine oil?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of extracting." And I was like, "Wait a minute, like, what are you going up there for?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go marijuana." So he like makes these crystals, and he'll like put like he's sober now, and he went back to treatment, but he will post it on his
Instagram.
Instagram, right? All these like crystals that he makes, and he's like won awards and prizes for them,
Yeah.
and like that's insane, right?
Yeah.
So you're like they're smoking that?
They've made injectable THC.
What?
Mhm.
How long does that stay in your system?
I don't know. And you know, I've never actually even seen it. I've just heard that
Okay.
this is a thing now, which seems
Drug addicts are
really
super
crazy.
super ingenious, right? Like
Yeah.
they will figure if it can get you high, they will figure out how to go about doing it. And so this goes back to the concentrations, right? And so the concentrates are so powerful, right, that we can compare that to liquor, as like
Yeah.
liquor compared to beer. So it's
Or-
like a super concentrated version of it, right? So back in the day, I was drinking beer, right? And today they're drinking Everclear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the difference.
Yeah.
So imagine like if you were just consuming Everclear on a daily basis.
Yeah. It would make me sick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
But-
tastes terrible.
Yeah. Have you ever tried moonshine?
Mm-mm. Everclear is like the closest I got to that, right? And I think that's like 95%.
Yeah, I know that we're talking about like moonshine. I think I've heard of like 180 proof.
Yeah. I think that's the most you can have without it shifting over to vapor. So 100, I think it's 190 proof. 100,
That's
so
crazy.
95% ethanol by volume, right?
Other-
Like you have to have some water in it to keep it in the liquid format. Like
Right.
as soon as if it goes above that, it automatically vaporizes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so then, well, this is obvious, right? The market share of concentrates has gone up sharply.
Oh yeah, makes
So,
total
like,
sense.
I mean, they're buying more of that than they are of the
Flour.
flour. So it's vape pens and dabs,
Mhm.
and so that's actually been an issue for the hospital too, because I had this kid that came in and it was just like I thought it was a vape, and then I looked a little bit closer at it, and it was marijuana, and I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, you can't smoke that here, you can't have that here, and so it's like it's only letting them bring in packaging that is sealed so that
Mhm.
you know exactly what's inside of it because
Yeah.
they can put all sorts of oils into those
The
dab
vapes,
pens.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that's an issue. Um, so edibles are now represent 10 to 15% of the legal cannabis sales,
That's crazy.
right? THC dosages per servings have increased despite labeling limits.
For sure.
So they're like, oh, you can't have it higher than this, or like,
And they're like, all right,
okay,
we're just
we
that's where
won't.
we'll label it, but we're gonna put whatever the fuck
Yeah,
we want in
whatever.
it.
Yep, exactly, right. And so I think the serving caps were between 5 and 10 milligrams normally in the market, but when you start just to actually test it and to see what's actually in there, it's way higher than
Oh
that.
yeah.
So you have no idea what you're getting.
Well, also the way that they like these restrictions are made, it's like X amount per weight volume, right? And so
Hmm.
these gummies are 3 grams by
Okay.
weight, right?
Okay.
And so by weight, it can only be 25% or whatever,
Okay.
right? And these are all arbitrary. I don't actually know what the numbers are, but as you get bigger, the volume goes up, right? And
Right.
so they're like creating these like bigger packages,
Like this monster gummy.
dude. And yeah, but then just like loading it with stuff, dude. And then you could just like take a bite of the chocolate bar,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, well, you just got 3 grams of THC or
That's
whatever. It's like,
crazy. Yeah. So they're having more and more people come into the hospital, right, into the ER, because of marijuana poisoning,
for sure.
right? Because of psychosis that's associated with it. The CBD dominant products peaked around 2019, 2020, and then started declining.
That makes sense too.
So nobody's buying, like, when I think in 2020, everyone, at least here in Houston, it was all the rage, right?
Mhm.
They were like smoke shops that had like CBD products inside of it, and then as soon as the Delta 8 started coming out, you stopped seeing the CBD stuff,
Yeah.
and so no one was like taking CBD dominated stuff anymore. It all shifted over to the psychoactive one.
Well, yeah. As a novelty,
Mhm.
CBD was like a really cool thing, and
Yeah.
then everybody was sick of just smoking something that didn't do shit.
Yeah, and they're like,
And they're
well,
like, "What are we doing this for?" It's fucking stupid.
I think it was more of a novelty than anything else,
That's
right?
it.
You're like, oh, you want? I can go buy weed in like the store.
Yeah.
Like, sign me up for that. And then Delta 8 came around, and that was just like this loophole where you could get active THC in a way that was synthesized from
Yeah.
something that was legal.
Well, then they had the THCA thing. Do you remember this?
I don't remember the A.
So THCA, when you burn it, it adds like a carbon molecule to it, and it activates like just straight up THC.
Mm.
And so, it's
Oh, I think that's what they have in the shops here now.
mostly now. Yeah,
Okay.
mostly now it's THCA. And in order, like when you test it, it is not THC. It comes up as THCA,
Right.
and all it is a maturation. It's part of the maturation process of the plant.
Yeah,
So if you would have let it mature for 2 more weeks, it would just straight up turn into THC.
yeah.
But now, if you burn it, it
As you
create it adds the carbon molecule.
And that's how it was marketed when I went. So I went into a smoke shop just to like look around.
Mhm.
They're like, "This is basically weed," and I
Yeah.
was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, like if you smoke it, it's basically weed. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same. It'll feel the same. It's not the Delta 8 stuff. This is like the good stuff."
Legitimately
And I was
weed.
like, "What?" And it's just so interesting how they market that and how all these shops have like sprung up all over the place.
Dude, and the loopholes.
Yeah.
Like the you can't buy that. We give you that for free, but you
Yeah.
gotta buy this charger. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they have these other products that are balanced THC and CBD products. Nobody's buying those.
I
It's
doubt it,
Basically,
yeah.
what they're saying, right? And then microdosing of products have grown, but it remains like a niche market. I really don't understand how that works. I didn't like dig too deep into that. But there's this group out there that's taking a small amount
Yeah,
every
a lot
single
of,
day.
yeah. It is you get the benefits of the psychoactive ingredient without having the experience of the psychoactive ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being a full blown addict, I think it's pointless. I also just naturally have like a higher tolerance for a lot of stuff, and so it wouldn't have done shit for me anyway. I've tried it; it didn't do anything.
Okay. Do you know what terpenes are?
Hmm.
Okay, I don't know what those are.
Yeah, it's part of the genetic makeup of the marijuana plant.
Okay.
So there's like there is terpenes. There's like a few different things that differentiate like this plant from this plant.
Okay.
And it's also, there's like humans have them too, where it's like the way that we look. There's like Indians have like these very specific traits.
Okay.
Mexicans have very specific
Oh,
traits.
okay. So it's like it's the phenotype versus the.
Okay, and then yeah, the phenotypes,
Okay.
and but then there's like chemical markers as well.
Okay. And that's just the different types of plants.
Hmm.
Okay.
And it'll be like ratios.
Okay. What do you know about cannabis beverages?
I imagine that they are very dangerous for people.
Yeah. Cannabis drinks are the one of the most marketed bridge products
Yeah.
because it's kind of like around the whole like drinking thing. Like I can just drink this while I'm socializing and interacting with people, and then I'm going to get a buzz off of it.
Yeah. So when you talk about bioavailability of drugs,
Mm.
so first of all, THC has to be activated, right? But once you
Right.
activate it, it becomes bioavailable through the digestive tract. We're talking about like the highest, other than like injecting stuff.
Mhm.
That's like the highest way to absorb the very most of it is to eat it.
To eat it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And then when you put it in a liquid form, right? Because like when
there's
you
no digesting it.
yeah, and so it's even more of the volume that you're actually absorbing. So like when you eat a banana, we've talked about this, right? Like on the Jenny Craig, on the Jenny Craig diet, you go by points, right? Or one of them. I forget which one it is. The one of those diet systems, you go by points.
Weight Watchers.
Weight Watchers. If you eat a banana, it's 0 points. But
Yeah.
if you blend a banana, it's 7 points. Because you take like the
Oh, okay.
masticating out
yeah,
of it
you
and the
take
saliva,
yeah,
and you take all
you
that
take
stuff
the
out.
fiber out of it, and
Right.
yep, the breakdown side of it.
And so I imagine like having like a 40 milligram drink versus a 40 milligram brownie
Mm-hmm.
is vastly different.
Yes, yes. In terms of like how quickly it gets into your system and how it slows it.
Oh
all
yeah,
down.
and the
Yeah.
delivery,
Yeah.
like the peaking, all of that. Megan says that the Delta 8 gummies gave her panic attacks.
I could
which
say that.
Makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that completely makes sense, right? So there's health, psychiatric, and medicine implications of all of like the marijuana and like how it's changing and things like that, right? So emergency visits related to cannabis have increased, especially from edibles.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that, right? Is that they're not really sure how much they're getting, and then all of a sudden they've eaten the whole brownie, and they're like, a brownie that should have been consumed like, a quarter of it. All of a sudden they eat the whole thing, and this is their first time, and they're like, what happened?
Dude, so Megan had this experience. She got this brownie. The brownie was like this big,
Okay.
okay? And we were like everyday pot smokers. She
Okay.
ate a quarter of this brownie, and she couldn't walk straight. Every time I turned around, she was in a like feet up in a bush. Eyes were like super red, and then like we're strung out on drugs too. We're strung out on drugs too. She crashes. She falls asleep, and she sleeps for 2 days straight, like through a heroin kick, through all of that. Like this brownie kick, like put her on her ass.
And
Like,
was that concentrated?
Dude, it was so crazy.
Yeah.
That brownie sat in the back of the car, like that 3/4 of a brownie sat in the back of the car for months. We didn't even want to touch it.
That's like with me and tequila, right? Like you get one bad experience, you're like, never doing that again.
Never doing that
Did
again.
you get so desperate at some point that you were like, all right, let's give it another whirl?
No, we threw it away.
Okay.
Yeah, eventually it was like once the like we don't want to touch it wore off, we're like fucking get rid of that thing. you know?
Okay.
Yeah, she was like right now she's like, dude, it was so bad.
I wonder what made it so bad. Was it the concentration of it?
It had to have been like
Or
they
how long,
accidentally.
yeah.
It was like the chocolate chip cookie effect of pressed pills.
Yep.
This particular brownie got so much of it, like
Of the
and
THC.
and we were like everyday pot smokers, and so to kick her on her ass like that, like it had to
Yeah.
have been a lot.
Yeah, and so that goes back to the delayed onset,
Mhm.
right? That's the main reason why there's so many people that are coming in to the ER based upon that,
Yeah,
right? So legalization doesn't automatically mean that it's safer. It just means it's legal.
yeah.
Right. cannabis-related ER visits rose mostly sharply in states where edibles were legal.
That makes sense.
Right, so that all fits. Cannabis-induced psychosis diagnoses have increased in the hospital system. Right, this goes back to the idea that like more people are getting higher and higher doses and higher frequencies of the cannabis, right, and they're doing it more often. Um, mm, let's see, the highest THC exposure is linked to higher psychosis risks in vulnerable people, right? What else? Cannabis use disorder prevalence increase alongside legalization,
Of course.
obviously, right? About 3 in 10 people who have used cannabis have cannabis use disorder, lifetime risk.
Wow. 3 in 10.
Yeah.
So 30% of people that try weed
End up with a diagnosis of cannabis, use disorder, right? So I mean, like, but then it goes back to the unmanageability, right? Like, at what point does your life have to be unmanageable that you start saying yes to all the criteria of the unmanageability side of it?
Yeah.
Like requiring higher and higher doses, right? Or like having withdrawal symptoms, having this, having that.
So, I mean, how is it defined? How does cannabis use disorder, how is it defined?
So I think with every use disorder, it's defined in the 9 category domain. I don't have them all memorized, but it's like, frequency of use. Do you need more dosings to get the same result? Do you have any psychological things that could have made it worse? Do you develop withdrawal symptoms? Like just the domains of
Have you ever had
use
cannabis
disorder.
withdrawal?
Personally, no. Like it was never an issue, right? Like I mean, I say it was never. I would run out and I would stop,
Yeah.
right? Because it was, but that goes back to the barrier. Like if I had easy access to it, would I have done that more than the alcohol? I think the reason why the alcohol became an issue is because one, it was legal,
Yeah.
so there wasn't going to be any like medical issues around it. There wasn't going to be like, oh, we tested you and you're positive for alcohol, you can't be a doctor anymore, right? But like, tested positive for anything else, it's like, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then
Well,
the
wasn't weed
accessibility.
legal by the time you went into medical school?
Not in Louisiana.
Like, it's super legal there now.
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
I did not know that.
Mhm.
When did it legalize there?
I don't know. We were just there a couple months ago, and everybody was smoking pot.
Okay, that's so interesting. Like, do they need another drug?
And it's funny
in
because
Louisiana?
they had just made vapes illegal.
What?
Yeah.
So you can't buy a vape in New
Louisiana,
Orleans, but
yeah.
you can buy weed.
Mm-hmm.
So crazy. That's so crazy.
Isn't that backwards?
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about? Right. Sleep is now the most common reason why people cite for cannabis use.
Which is funny because the adverse effects of cannabis use, of like heavy cannabis use, is it affects your sleep so negatively.
It doesn't allow you to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the quality of sleep when you do, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
But that's all drugs, right? Like it's always messing
Yeah.
up your sleep-wake cycle and your circadian rhythm.
Wait, so what is the most extreme cannabis withdrawal that you've seen?
That I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like people are coming into the hospital for it or no?
no.
Okay.
There's no physical symptoms that are associated with it. So there's no
Whoa,
withdrawal.
whoa. I got to push back on that.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's no immediate physical danger.
Okay,
can
danger.
that can
Okay.
It's not. It does not become life threatening,
For sure.
right? So
For
like,
sure.
in order for you to get treated in a withdrawal setting, or in a detox setting, it has to have some clinical implication for a severe medical condition that
I mean,
occurs from it.
couldn't you private pay to like have like a more comfortable withdrawal? Because I'll say this, I've gotten arrested after a year of sliming heroin and smoking weed,
Okay.
and the weed part of the withdrawal lasts way longer. And
What are you considering withdrawal?
the stomach pains, the not being able to eat, the not be like, there's a lot of different symptoms that.
Isn't that from the opiates?
Nope. No. This is a whole different thing. Like my withdrawals from opiates are very mild, I guess,
Okay.
compared to but it's also the mental component of my withdrawals like have gone away. Like most people
From
are,
the opiates.
yeah, most people haven't kicked as many times as I have, and so once it's like kick time, I'm like, okay, it's kick time, whatever. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit on this floor and fucking puke my brains out for 2 days or something, like,
And then I'll be fine.
and I'll be all right, right? Yeah, but
'cause
like
you've gone through it. So it's not the end of the
many
world.
times.
Yeah.
Whereas I've gone through like the cold sweats that last for weeks, the sleeping.
That's
like,
from marijuana?
yeah, from like coughing up the lung butter.
Interesting.
Like,
So I guess
painful.
we don't talk about that as much, right? In
Yeah.
the addiction medicine, like the protracted withdrawal that comes from it.
And like the stomach pain is intense.
Okay,
It's
like stomach
super intense.
cramping.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And it
Maybe
is
that's where the cyclic vomiting stuff comes from.
probably that's why I immediately said is it like stomach related.
Right.
But dude, just like the inability to keep food down.
Uh huh.
Like I can kick heroin and I'm eating 2 days later
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
perfectly
the
fine.
that's the cyclic vomiting side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the mechanism of action for that is. I'll look it up and we'll talk about it next time.
Okay.
Um, what else we got? Pain remains a top reason why people decide for cannabis use,
Of
right?
course.
Because it helps out with that. Cannabis is increasingly used as a substitute for alcohol by some users.
That makes, I mean, absolute sense to me.
I'm convinced that the people. So when I went when I went back for my high school reunion, right? I went back for my God, what was it? My 30-year reunion. Everyone at the reunion was from like most of them were from California,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all having gummies. They weren't drinking. They were taking these gummies, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "You want a gummy?" And I was like, "No, man, I can't."
But you know
can't do
what?
that."
How many of them were like, got trashed at the end of the night, can't remember shit, puked all over their nice clothes, like didn't have fun. Like I'm sure they all like went out, ate good food,
Yeah.
enjoyed each other's company,
Yep,
and like
that's
loved
exactly
it.
what happened.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And like nobody was getting shit faced. Nobody got like wasted or hammered. But if I equate that back to my 25th reunion, right, which is interesting, people were getting shit faced left and right,
Mm-hmm.
and that was 5 years ago. So, I mean,
Wow.
I guess it's gotten like more accepted and more.
Think about the actual physical toll though too. You wake up in the morning from a weed hangover. Like I've never had a weed hangover,
Yeah,
but like the actual like you got to pay the piper, right?
yeah.
And so like drinking takes like a huge toll on the body.
I know we're not like it was our 30-year reunion, right? We're no longer
No
young
longer
anymore.
spring chickens,
So
right?
it's like oh, that makes more sense why we're
Yeah.
doing that. But I think the prevalence is completely changed
Yeah.
in terms of like what's socially acceptable and what's okay to do and how they are perceiving the marijuana stuff.
Yeah. And when you talk about like perception is funny because it's the same thing that like effectively it's the same thing that it was 10 years ago, but now
Uh-huh.
everybody's looking at it differently. What caused that perception change? Is it the legalities of it strictly, or was it like
I think
that?
I think the legalities of it, right? And how many people were actually starting to use it.
Okay.
Like you take the criminalization out of it, right? And then the barrier to entry is like no longer there.
I mean, but think about like the weed culture of California. Like I was raised in California, you were raised in
Right.
California, right? There
Yep.
was like a weed culture and it was heavily illegal. Everybody that I knew smoked weed.
I know,
And
but your population is completely skewed, right?
okay.
So if we're looking
I
at
keep saying that and you keep saying that. I'm like, okay.
yeah, like I mean, my population, right? The population that I hung around with
Yeah.
after college is like, I went to USC, like they were all like engineers, doctors, lawyers. Like they weren't smoking weed. They were going and drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as prevalent. I mean, maybe it was prevalent like when we were younger, but then you get older and you get responsibilities, and you're like, oh, I can't be doing that anymore.
That's funny. All the people that I hung out with, like, you know how many of them like overdosed, ended up in prison for life, like,
Mm-mm.
and like we were never drinkers. And like, it was like me, Matt Marchita, Mateo Vega, Matias. They're all dead or in prison for the rest of their life, and then there's me.
He got out.
I got out.
Yeah. Interesting. Let you reflect
Very
on that a lot.
interesting. I think about it all the time
Okay.
because I shouldn't have. I mean, when you look at like the actual linear path of that I was on, I shouldn't be here. Like, legitimately, should be in prison for the rest of my life.
Right. So,
So-
definitely the lucky ones, right?
Mhm.
Like got a lot of grace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go into the neuroscience and
Oh,
the
yeah.
cognitive issues around it. So chronic heavy use is associated with changes in attention and memory, right? Like that's kind of obvious, right? And what it basically says is that frequent heavy cannabis use is associated with learning, attention, and memory effects,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in early onset and high frequency use.
Mm-hmm.
And so this goes back to the dopamine thing, right? Because it's so dopaminergic. Like, I
Oh.
think that's what like robs you of your desire to go do stuff,
Oh yeah.
right? And so you're just kind of like sitting around and just like watching movies all day. I think my favorite line from a from a movie was like around weed was from Jackie Brown, where Samuel L. Jackson is talking to this girl and he's like, "Man, you keep smoking that weed, it's gonna rob you of your drive and your motive, right?" And she like looked at me and he's like, "What if my drive and motive are just to sit around and watch movies all day long?" And he's like, "Okay." That's fair. If that's what you want to do.
Have you seen Idiocracy?
Yes.
Okay.
That was so dumb. So dumb. I can't,
You
it
know
was
that's
so
where
it
that's
was
where we
so
ended
dumb.
up.
It was funny.
Yeah, that's where we ended up. Do you remember what all the shoes were that they were wearing?
Uh-uh.
Crocs. They were all wearing Crocs.
Okay.
And the president was Terry Crews, was like a wrestler,
Okay.
and he was like a big celebrity, and everybody was just dumb.
Yeah.
And they did things that made zero sense.
Yep.
And when I look at it, when I watch, because I watched that movie recently again, and I was like, this is where we ended up. You know, like,
This is what it is now.
this is what it is.
Yeah. So executive function effects are dose and age dependent,
Okay,
right? Early onset use shows stronger association with cognitive effects,
for sure.
right? Brain imaging studies of cannabis users have decreased sharply, right, since 2015.
Why?
Research output has grown as the legalization expands and funding barriers are eased.
Oh, so they just don't care?
Yeah, they're just
What?
like, I'm like, it's not an issue anymore, right? Like,
That's funny.
why am I gonna research all this stuff, right? And then they just stop doing it,
That's so funny.
right?
You know what's sad though is like as these, you know, the prefrontal cortex doesn't develop all the way until you're 25. Let's
Uh-huh.
just say 25, right? Maybe it's a little earlier, maybe it's a little later, whatever. I started smoking weed at 13 was the first time. 15 it became a daily thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Like,
Oh wait, we missed that, right? So the studies have increased
oh,
since it's legalized, not decreased.
oh,
Yeah,
I thought it said decreased.
no, increased.
Okay, all right,
And so it's increased, right? So that means that they're studying it more now.
that makes sense too.
Okay, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Why did they stop caring about that? So there's more papers out there, and they're actually studying the long-term uses and the long-term implications
Okay,
of weed, which makes total sense, right? I mean, like you looked at alcohol, and they started doing more studies on the long-term effects of that. So maybe we'll start getting some studies out there that start saying like, oh, this is really bad, and there just isn't enough data out there.
okay, but there's also like input bias because I've seen like the weirdest outcomes of some studies that say that like pot smokers are happier on average, pot smokers are high achievers, and like all this like crazy shit.
Yeah, that was like back in the day when we were like legalize, legalize, legalize.
Yeah,
Right. And so maybe the studies are going to shift and change.
maybe.
Cannabis alters time perception more reliably than mood. Did you ever have that experience?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah.
I remember the very first time I smoked pot. Like the very first time I smoked pot, I was I was at USC. I was an RA, and went to go visit my friends in Webb Tower, and I had a group of like straight laced friends, like from like the public magnet school that I went to
Mhm.
on the third floor, and then I had my stoner friends on like the fifth floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first time I smoked pot, I smoked pot on the fifth floor, right? And I was like so high that I went to go down to go visit them, and then I would go back up to hang out with them, and I go back down to visit them. And the clock on the walls in the stoners room was like was
Significant.
different, right? Or
Yeah.
like it was, and I kept thinking I was in this time warp between
Oh,
the
yeah.
two, right? Because like time would just slow down, like completely, and I was like, what? It's only been 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
how's that even possible?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's what like drugs are effectively time machine technologies. Like you take the right one, and 3 days will go by in the blink of an eye. You take
Okay.
you take the right one, and it's like you can literally be in somewhere. It feels like hours and hours and hours. It's been
Uh-huh.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, it distorts perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. CBD shows anxiolytic effects in lab studies, but consistently inconsistent in real world effects. So what that means is that the CBD studies are like, oh, it's really good for anxiety.
Yeah.
But when you start doing it in the real world, they're like,
Doesn't do
it
shit.
doesn't do anything. Like it's not really helping this out. Long-term abstinence reverses many cognitive changes. That's obvious, right?
Okay, but what about is there like permanent damage that can be done like in early exposure? Like early in life exposure. Talking about like preteens, teens.
I mean, your brain's still developing, right?
Yeah.
So I can't really say that it doesn't have an impact on you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always neuroplasticity, right? And your brain's gonna like heal and adapt and all of those things.
Yeah.
But those memories and those inputs are still there from the beginning, right? Cannabis impacts emotional salience more than raw intelligence.
What?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I would
about,
get
about how.
yeah. I would get like super emotional sometimes.
Yeah. Individuals' variability in response is extremely high. So did you ever have those friends that like smoked pot once and
Hmm.
like all they did? I had this friend, his name's Lauren, and he was like, "I'm never gonna smoke pot. I'm never gonna smoke pot. I'm never gonna smoke pot." The one time he actually did, right? He got so paranoid off of the pot that he was like, "Never doing that again."
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure whether it was because he had like psyched himself out or like there was an actual thing that was happening with that.
It probably could be both, you know. I did have like those friends. It happened to you too, right? You smoked it once and it didn't do anything. Wasn't that you that was like the first time you smoked weed, it didn't do anything?
No, no, I got high the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, the very first time I did it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was talking to somebody recently. They were like, "Oh yeah, the first time I smoked weed, I didn't feel anything."
no, that was not my experience.
That happens a lot, and it
The
didn't
very
happen to me, dude. The first time I smoked weed, it was like I wasn't. It was on my 13th birthday. I'll never forget it, and it was like,
13th birthday.
hmm
God.
it was the day that my youngest sibling was born. I
Uh
had like
huh.
all this free time, and I was like, I'm gonna go across the street, and like,
I didn't smoke pot until I was like 19. I think 19 was the first time I smoked pot. That's crazy.
yeah, it was but yeah, huge spectrum between effects on certain people, and it could have like, does it have anything to do with like biological makeup and chemical
Yeah,
responses?
yeah, yeah, for sure. So the safety and public policy around marijuana and cannabis, right?
Yeah, the jokes,
What?
public policy and safety policies around this, big jokes.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think the at least for marijuana,
Right.
it is one of the most failed attempts at prohibition
Yeah.
and then legalization
Yeah.
and then around trying to regulate. I think it was like the worst practice in any of those things that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's been an ongoing thing since I
Hmm.
was little, right? So cannabis-related DUI detection, right, increased after legalization.
For sure.
So how do you determine if somebody is impaired to drive while they are smoking marijuana?
So this is a weird thing too because they will say that you smoke like marijuana is not alcohol. Like
Right.
it doesn't go out of your system in 12 hours.
It does not. Yeah.
So if they say that you were DWI, right?
Impaired. Yeah.
Like driving while intoxicated,
Yep.
and they test you and you smoked 2 weeks ago,
Yep. It would still be in your
it would
system.
still be in your system.
Yes. So how do they determine if you were impaired for that?
So for the street testing,
Yeah. So do a lot of
yeah,
street test. Like it's more. It's not a.
it's cognitive. I mean,
Yeah.
cognitive skills
Yep.
and motor skills.
And they're recording it, and they've got these apps out there that will basically determine like your probability of being impaired is this
X
based
amount.
upon this particular test.
Well, it's like the alcohol one with the finger. You
Yeah.
know what they're actually looking for?
Nystagmus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which is
so it's
basically the jumping back and
Mhm.
forth.
Yeah, and then like the weed one, they actually have breathalyzers for it now.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
To say if you've
If
like
it's
just
active in your breath. Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. And there's like you can take levels from that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
But
can.
is that what determines intoxication?
No, it's just I think it's either a yes or a no. It's
Okay.
either active in your system or it's not. And so
Okay.
there isn't like levels to it.
Okay. So I mean the biggest concern is that like how do you test somebody who is driving while under the influence in a way that's like legal and in a way that allows for them to ensure public safety but not like criminalize someone who's doing something legally.
So the reality is the margin of error is so wide
Yeah.
that it's like you might get one and you might
Uh-huh.
fuck one,
Right.
right? So I don't know.
And that's because THC blood levels poorly correlate with impairment,
Mhm.
right? Like there's no definitive test that says, "Hey, you have this much THC in your blood. It means you're going to be behaving this way," right?
Mhm.
So states struggle to define reliable THC impairment thresholds.
I mean, they probably have tests out there that can test the quality of the molecule, like the deterioration levels of the molecule.
Okay.
But that is so expensive. I imagine it's so
Right.
expensive.
And I think they're doing it based upon what is your presentation?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
how are you showing up? Like
Well, and let's
are
be
you
real.
like are you like in the Cheech and Chong thing about like, "Hey, give me your license." And they're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
the
it's
reality
back
is,
there."
yeah, the reality is most of the time they are pulling a DUI off this stuff because if the fucking car reeks, there's smoke in the air.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your eyes are bloodshot, and when you went to get your wallet, there was a joint in the ashtray. Like, yeah, pretty high indicators.
Yeah, but I mean, is that like, will that hold up in court?
Definitively.
Yeah.
The thing about it is it doesn't have to because so many people sign for, 98% of people sign deals.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
When they go to court, they just wanna
Nobody
deal with
goes to
it?
trial. Nobody goes to trial. If 50% of people went to trial, we would bankrupt the court systems.
Mm. So what do they offer them? Like a
Probation.
deferment?
Well, if you probation, you gotta like, and
Don't
it's
do it again,
it's a win-win because they got a conviction,
and they get money.
they get money,
Yeah.
and the person is now paying for programs and paying for whatever.
Yeah.
And and this is actually a big problem. There's a ripple effect in the recovery community where these people get sent to meetings as a preventative thing. And
Yeah.
now you're muddying the water around who's an addict and who's not,
Not addict.
right? And this happens with alcohol, this happens with weed, this
Yeah.
happens with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And you look at, as this became more prevalent, the average age of the rooms dropped. Now you're talking about like people that are in there for preventative measures instead of like actually trying to save their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this kid who legally cannot smoke weed. And so he starts smoking weed and then he stops and then he gets caught and he starts a relapse, what looks like a relapse cycle.
Yeah.
And he's not really relapsing because he's not really an addict, but he just likes to smoke weed. But let that person say that he's not an addict, and people like us are going to say you're delusional.
What do you mean, people like us? Speak
Well,
for yourself.
I wouldn't because I don't
Yeah.
I don't agree with I just don't agree with the whole framework.
Right.
But I know that a lot of people in those situations would say you're deluding yourself. Because it does look like a relapse cycle.
Yeah.
Like he can't stop. It's a problem. He got a DUI and all this stuff. And it's like,
But then that goes back to the unmanageability of it, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Those are all indicators for how, like, if you can't stop despite harmful consequences,
Yeah.
that's an issue.
see, but the thing is it can't stop or don't want to stop.
What's
And
the difference?
Well, I mean, so especially specifically with weed, there is no like, I can't stop smoking weed. There was
Right.
for me. I was like a real abuser of the drug. But the average
Right.
person out there, they can stop smoking weed.
So, but when we go back to the idea that the reason that you're smoking weed, right, is to handle the mood disturbances that's coming up, then it goes back to you're using the weed to treat this mood instability that's happening.
Okay, but now what we're talking about right here is the 33% of people that present in this specific way.
Yeah.
How many of them are only using weed?
How many of them are only using weed? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we haven't actually gotten down to
Right.
those numbers because those guys aren't coming into treatment.
And they won't.
And
I
they're
don't
not
think
then
they
they're
will.
not seeking help for that.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of the people that are in my clinic right now, right, are either opiate users, meth users, or alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not marijuana related.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes how many of those people are actually using to address this mood instability?
I mean, you can look at these statistics, and if it translates directly from what you're seeing into that,
yeah.
then if it's 5% of the population smoking weed, then probably 1.3% of them.
Oh, of that percent.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Mhm.
But it'll be interesting as we expand the model, right? And
Mhm.
we start actually building the app out and we start seeing who's actually on it.
Mhm.
Like that's the exciting part, right? It's
Yeah.
collecting more and more data
For sure.
around it. So workplace drug testing policies are increasingly conflicted,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a messy transition, right? So for some states it's legal, other places it's not legal. You've got a government job, you're like you can't be smoking weed 'cause
Yeah.
it's a federal job.
Yeah, it's also industry specific,
Yep.
right? Because like
So there's
oil
some-
and gas is massive here.
Yeah.
If you get caught smoking weed, it isn't if you get caught smoking weed. If an accident happens and they test everybody,
They test everybody. Everybody gets tested.
everybody,
Yeah.
and you have weed in your system, even if you're not related to the accident, they're gonna fire you
But that's the exact same thing with a physician, right?
for sure.
Like if there's an adverse, like, so a lot of like anesthesiologists, a lot of surgeons, if there's any adverse event that occurs in an operating room or an operating room setting, every single person gets tested,
Right.
right? Irregardless of like what you're on or what's going on, everyone gets tested.
You know what's interesting with those situations? Something adverse happens, right? Let's say extreme, like something gets sewn into a body that shouldn't be there, like a
Okay.
gauze strip gets sewn into the body,
Okay.
right? And everybody gets tested, and the nurse that's
Well,
watching the monitors is in there. How many times do they point at that person and say, "This is your fault"?
the nurse who's okay, so one, when somebody loses the gauze inside of somebody and it
Hmm.
comes up on X-ray later on, like it's probably a week or two after,
Yeah,
right? And so they're not
and
they
it's a massive infection
it's a
that
massive
they're
infection, yeah,
right.
that's going on there, right? And so that they count all of the napkins and all the gauze things that are in.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, well, not the gauze strips themselves, but if there's like, because I think some of the gauze, like, it wouldn't, it's sterile, right? So like worst case scenario, like, it's you're not gonna get, I don't think you're gonna get an infection from it, and the body will eventually like
Dissolve it?
reconstitute it. Yeah.
Really?
But it's like it's the when you leave a tissue in there, or you leave a napkin in there, or you
Yeah.
leave something that's like that's not going to degrade on itself. Um, how many times do they blame? I don't know. Like they test everybody.
Yeah.
They test everybody to like make sure be like what happened here, right? Because it's all about liability and all about like who did
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well,
then it's the company covering themselves.
for sure. Because
Yeah, or
in
the
the
hospital covering themselves.
industry that I worked in, I did wet utilities, right? And anytime that anytime somebody got hurt, the whole crew got tested,
Okay.
and it was every single time when somebody got hurt. If somebody tested, they would blame that person, and he had nothing to do with it.
That guy's fault.
Yep. Yep.
But I mean, that's an easy win, right?
For
Like
sure.
you figured out what the problem was and
Hmm.
you fixed it right away. Good
Hmm.
job, right?
Yep.
No need to change any processes, right? It was that bad seed over
For
there.
sure.
Yeah, I get it. Like, but that's the easiest way to cover your ass, right? To be like, oh,
Hmm.
it's that guy over there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Cannabis legalization does not increase violent crime rates.
Not surprised.
Yeah, because what are you doing when you're smoking weed? Right?
Eating
You're
and
like-
watching TV.
So no one's going out there, right? Cannabis arrests dropped by millions nationwide
Dude,
after
yeah.
it was legalized,
Mhm.
right? Because they're like, oh, it's not an issue
It also
anymore.
freed up a ton of money when they
That was
stopped.
going into that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you know like how much the crime rate drops on Super Bowl Sunday?
No.
65%.
Really? No
On
one's
Super
doing any
Bowl Sunday.
crime. They're just.
I
They're
mean, all the
watching,
criminals are football fanatics, right?
they're watching football.
Mhm.
Interesting. Um, that's an interesting statistic. Racial disparities in cannabis arrests persist despite legalization.
Not surprised either.
Okay. And what does that mean? That means that like there's still more people going to
Well,
jail that are like,
actually, look what it says. Racial disparities in cannabis arrests persist despite
Despite-
legalization.
yeah.
Who are they? Who are they historically arresting around this stuff, and who are they still arresting around
Not this
stuff?
guy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But what you're really what you should look at is what crimes are
Are being
what
committed around that. Yeah.
around it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just when you look at the disproportionate amounts of crimes that are committed according to like racial demographics,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 20% of the population is committing 80% of the crime.
Yeah, that's the Pareto principle, right?
Mhm.
The 80-20 principle. Yeah. Public support for legalization now exceeds 65 to 70% of the country.
Yeah,
Is
not
like,
surprised.
sure, legalize it.
Hmm.
Support among Republicans has increased substantially.
Not surprised either.
Okay. The economics and the industry of it, right? So let's talk about monies, dollars and cents.
Oh, dude, this is crazy. I bet.
Yeah. So legal cannabis sales now exceed $30 billion annually in the United States.
Wow,
That's a ton of money, right?
that is a lot of money.
Industry economics reports place that retail cannabis sales were $30 billion plus in 2024 with modest year-over-year growth.
You know what's funny though? It's a cash industry. So like in California, their whole thing was like, this is going to be like a $15 billion industry in California,
Uh-huh.
and we're gonna be able to collect X amount of taxes. But it's a cash industry,
And no one like reports any
so
of
nobody
it.
reports any of it. So there's no taxing.
Yeah. So the revenue is massive, right?
Mhm.
But the industry still feels fragile. Excuse me, because of taxation regulations and price compromise, right? Compression that crushes the margins, even while consumers keep buying. So it's not like everyone complains like, "Oh, we're not making money, right?" So I wonder if they're actually really not making money, or they're just saying that they're
Oh
not
no,
making money?
dude. I know one, two. I know three, maybe four people that started weed shops in California,
Okay.
and they were so because banks, it's federally illegal.
Oh, they're cash rich, but
Yeah,
they couldn't. They couldn't.
they
They
couldn't
couldn't put
put
it
it into
anywhere
banks. Yeah.
for fear of. And we actually talk about this later on, right? The cannabis tax revenue now funds schools, roads, and healthcare programs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, illicit markets still rival the legal markets in
Yep.
some states.
Mm-hmm.
And so California is a poster child for that, right? And it shows that even though you legalize it, there still are being consumed in an unregulated market.
Yeah. Have you seen that the whole? They have a documentary on the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management,
Okay.
emergency that's going on around cartels that are growing weed in the forests of California.
Oh, I did. I think I did. I did see something around that.
Yeah, they've got probably a bunch of documentaries around it, but I've watched a couple of them, and it's super interesting. The illicit cannabis market is booming, and ultimately, what they found out was that they're growing it illegally, and then selling it across state lines to shops.
Okay.
So they're growing it illegally, but then they're selling it to legal
To legal
outlets.
outlets. Interesting. High tax rates help sustain the illicit market.
Hmm.
Um,
Which that that I don't know how accurate that is, because they can't they can't tax it. How are they how can they prove what's actually being sold? Because
Right.
hardly anybody's actually reporting the volumes that they are selling.
Yeah, because no one knows what the illicit market actually
Mhm.
is. Yeah. Cannabis companies struggle with profitability despite high sales.
Hmm.
So profitability gets squeezed by price compression, oversupply in mature markets, and federal tax treatment, notably the 280E
Yeah,
that blocks normal business deductions from any operator.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
still get taxed at like a really high rate.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's like
That's why
50%.
that's why they don't report any of it.
Right. And so that's why these statistics come out looking the way that they do, is because all these people are reporting that they are broke
Yeah,
because
and they're
they're
real.
stuffing money in their wall at home.
So then, how do you get that money out? What do you do with it?
You just I don't
You like
so
Ozark it?
so lawn yeah, this is where the illicit, so when you actually look at, now I don't know how accurate this is, but what I've heard and read is that when you actually look into the ownership groups of marijuana companies, um, in California specifically, in Arizona, a huge percentage of them, even if it's up to like 25 to 30%, they're still owned by cartels.
Okay,
And so they're just sending money back across the border.
got it. Okay, and this goes back to what you were saying before, right? Banking restrictions increase cost and risk.
Hmm.
Because cannabis remains federally legal, banks face compliance risks, which limit access and pushes many businesses towards cash-heavy operations. And so you can't really do anything with the money,
Hmm.
right? Let's see. Smaller growers have been squeezed out in many states because of corporate consolidation.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And like all these like companies are like buying up the smaller farms and
I mean, yeah, there's billion-dollar weed companies like Dixie Farms was like a big deal back in 2015, and they were going around buying all of. I mean, have you seen the packaging for this stuff?
yeah, it's like nice.
Very nice, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of money that goes into the marketing and the packaging and the distribution and all this stuff. And the average grower, that like the mom and pop grower that have like these boutique strains,
Uh-huh.
they're selling them to the bigger companies. And then
Right.
the bigger companies are
Are they-
taking these breeds and
Got it.
cross growing and
cross
like,
growing.
hmm
Yeah. So there's cultural and social shifts that are occurring. Cannabis, like I said before, is increasingly being used as a wellness product. Cali sober culture rose during the pandemic.
makes sense.
So more and more people were using during the pandemic because they were like stuck at home
Yeah,
and weren't really able to go out.
yeah.
Cannabis use increased during the COVID lockdown.
Is Cali sober a recovery thing, or is that just like across the board everybody says that?
I think it's a recovery thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Pandemic era increases have largely persisted. So like the sharp increases that went up during the pandemic stuck around and stayed. Cannabis stigma declined sharply after 2015.
Of course.
Parents are more likely to disclose cannabis use to their children than like their alcohol use.
Then their alcohol use.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that has to do with the generation that we're in now, because
Mhm.
it's my generation, and my generation is fucking. They are so irresponsible, like in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I know plenty of parents that smoke weed in their garage,
Yeah.
and their kids know what they're doing. You know, it isn't like they have to disclose it. It's like, kids, I smoke weed. They're like, duh.
We see it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cannabis misuse persists amongst professionals has increased. And then older adults now represent one of the fastest growing user groups. So let's see. I think that's it. I don't know. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's
Yeah, I think that was it. That's like the majority of it because it kind of repeats itself afterwards.
I think that
What do you think about this different format?
I like it.
Okay, let's ask the chat.
Okay, guys. I don't know if you actually can tell the difference between what we did today and what we did every other time, but tell us if you liked this conversation more than what we have historically done. And
Because I think what I might do is I might go back through and do the alcohol one and the marijuana one and the other one over
Yeah.
again, but in this format.
yeah, I like this because
Because
there's a lot more like free flowing conversation.
right, and that was the whole point. The
Mhm.
whole point of this was to do it in a way that generated more discussion and
Mhm.
more back and forth than
Yeah.
anything else.
I mean, the other way worked too. It was just much more pointed.
Yeah,
Um,
much more clinical.
for sure.
I think
So how about that?
I was coming at it from a doctor's perspective than just a hey, like let's just chat about stuff perspective.
hmm So anybody that listens to this in the comments, let us know. Do you like the more pointed, clinical, information-based stuff or the conversation-based stuff? And we will be back. Not
After the new year,
Yeah, we'll be back after the new year, and we won't be doing a live next Thursday either because it's Christmas.
next Tuesday. We do lives on Tuesday.
I know, but we do next week. We'd be doing a live on Thursday. Me and Scott would,
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
and next week is Christmas.
okay,
So,
awesome.
yep.
Okay, thanks, you guys.
All right, guys. We will see you next time.